Just start off right opening with that.
There we go.
Okay.
So now I'm curious.
You don't know about Ulysses?
No. I mean, I know the James Joyce novel.
No, I know, but like,
that's
not
the only
poster.
thing that right now matters.
No, listen, I think it's a bit the whole like never. You know what? We're not starting the show off because of YouTube. Let's not start off this way. But I don't know. I think Ulysses has some good takes, even though most of it's bait against the right. I think Ulysses is a brilliant mind, but I mean, even brilliant minds can go, loopy. But anyways, so this people like I went in my audience like right away is like, oh, is he talking about Ulysses again? This is the Digital Archipelago episode 41. Yes, 41. Wow.
You get all 41. The odd number ones.
Yeah, that's right. What are odd numbers? I'm a math dyslexic. I know the room went silent.
The numbers that end
in... The numbers, Mason, what do they mean?
Magnets, how do they work?
Like 1 and 3 and those things.
Numbers not divisible by 2.
There we go. That sounds closer to a real definition.
Magnets.
Welcome to the Digital Archipelago, where the words don't matter and the definitions are made up.
There we go.
I should like start off with some like total Soilennial quote, like from Adam Savage. What did he say? He's like, "I substitute your reality and replace it with my own." There you go.
Yeah, the intro to MythBusters.
Yeah, I used to watch some of.
Everyone watched that show for Carrie Lake, and if you say otherwise, you're a fucking liar.
I've never seen the show, bros.
Oh, well, she was the only woman there, a redhead, and it was like probably like every 12-year-old's reason to watch that show other than watching shit blow up. But, you know, those were your two reasons.
I do like
a redheaded woman.
So that's definitely in my wheelhouse.
Isn't she a lib, though?
They're all libs.
No, I know, but like I remember back in the Gamergate days, she was like...
Oh, she went absolute apeshit. Like, she went crazy.
Yeah, she went insane. Like, she, like, literally the Eagle meme, like, MythBusters has gone insane. Oh, boy. Yeah, Carrie Byron. Yeah.
Carrie Byron, yeah. Not Carrie Lake. That's the Arizona chick.
I think she's, her page, probably, I think if I recall, her page on Wikipedia references Gamergate, if I recall.
Let's find out real quick.
So,
Carrie Byron.
Or he used to, but she's a vegetarian, blah, blah, blah. Severe depression. Okay. Well,
that explains everything.
And, oh my God. And then, of course, Adam Savage, well, never mind about
you just have to look at him. You know something's wrong with him. There's a reason why Jamie Heineman hates him.
Oh, Jamie Heineman hates him?
Yeah, they've like famously don't get along.
Oh, okay. That's right. They both, I remember they used to go to those atheist cons, like those remember when the atheist convention was a thing? Then like you'd have like these neckbeards like Aaron Raw, like going around giving the same talk over and over again. But then it was like just an excuse to have like, never mind. I heard stories about what those atheist cons were like Skepticon and, oh man, this is back in the early days of YouTube. When those people
Atheist con, Skepticon, just a bunch of people trying to rationalize the dirty things they did to each other in hotel rooms.
Yeah, exactly. Can you imagine how much well, see, this is why we have Dan Baltic on, because he could probably write a short story about this.
Exactly.
Can you imagine Aaron Raw? This
is my bread and butter here, gentlemen.
How the hell are you, Dan?
I'm good. Yeah, no, it's been really busy. Starting, New Right is your listeners probably know. I co-host a podcast called New Right, and we, essentially have people knocking down our door to be on the pod, and that's great. So we just had Yarvin on, we just had Catherine Dion. We have a lot of great guests coming up. A former guest of yours, Kino Corner, and Lomez coming up in the future, and fellow frog writer JL Mackey. So that's got us covered for a few weeks right there. And on my end, Nuckranker is cranking, doing great. I just spoke with Matt Forney a couple of days ago. He's still alive, just in case anyone was wondering. It's selling very well, so I'm very happy about that. And I started this Substack, Baltic State, which has this short story I wrote, Doxing Dom, and the plan. I'm a lawyer in my alter ego, my other life. So I don't have too much time, but the plan is to update with short stories, essays, and other things as I, write my second novel and, proceed to higher levels of greatness.
There you go. I was gonna ask you. I mean, you're a wagey in real life, but I didn't know you're a lawyer.
Oh yeah, no, I'm very I'm a lawyer.
My favorite part of Dan's Twitter is the assault and many trials and tribulations of junior associates.
Yeah, no, I mean it's like there's a real junior associate. This is not like I don't actually really bully or torment him anything more than is usual in law, and I do like him. I have affection. I actually just recently learned that seeing. In corporate business environments, you generally try to stay away from politics because it's going to get you in trouble. But we kind of we were at an event and drinking a little bit, and we started talking, and I realized that he's on the same page as me as us on many issues. So that was actually pretty cool. And I'm not going to stop torturing him on Twitter. But it was cool to find out that he is somewhat based.
That's all you can hope for in this world.
That's really
is based. So you do corporate law?
I do broadly speaking, I do intellectual property law.
Man.
And it is corporate. It's as opposed to litigation based. It's transactional law. I won't get too, specific into the industries I work in, but yeah, I do intellectual property law on the transactional side. And that keeps me very busy and too busy. I, wish, frankly, I had more time to write and do the stuff that I really love doing.
Man, that's a debate in itself, though, about IP that should still exist. But then it's like, I don't know. I feel like the internet has complicated, like most things in this life. The internet has complicated these issues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that IP really should exist. I don't like the idea of kind of IP being so rigorously enforced that it prevents
creativity,
generate new content, new ideas, and stuff of that nature. But the regime itself, not the regime, capital R, the intellectual property regime is pretty permissive. Honestly, if you I'm not sure. I'm not a litigator. I just draft the agreements. I do the deals. But I think the standard is, or precedent is, you can see how I'm not a litigator. The precedent is Prince, the Prince case, which was in the Second Circuit in New York in 2011 or something like that, which I believe said something to the effect of as long as you transform a work in some even minuscule way, it's considered your own. So you could take someone else's, essentially, let's say Dan, I paint a painting, and this is not a good comparison because you are the painter. So let's say you, Gio, you paint a painting, and I, Dan, then draw a mustache on one of
Yeah, the
your,
famous example. Yeah.
and then suddenly that's my painting. I changed it by drawing a mustache on it. Now I think that is a little too crazy. I think that is actually too permissive. But that is, I'm again, I'm a transactional lawyer. I do deals. I'm not up to on the latest in litigation and in case law. But until very recently, that was the standard.
Oh yeah. I don't
So
know, but then
pretty Wild West out there.
yeah, but that's the thing. Like I think, especially like with newer technologies of the whole like remix culture thing, like really complicated this and like digital sharing and but anyways, Lars Lars Ulrich Baster cringe. No, I'm just kidding. Oh man. Anyway, so what should we talk about first? I know everyone wants to get our hot takes on the recent incident, but I mean, I wanted to talk about doxing Dom because I feel like,
Oh yeah, great.
yeah, I mean, but we'll get to that because that's kind of like, I don't know, like I'm trying to like find OPSEC YouTube friendly words to describe it.
Well, I mean, I think like actually it is pretty YouTube friendly. Like,
Oh no, but like some of the passages are like amazing.
We
Like,
we
I
just
love
won't read those for the sake of YouTube. Although I read the story earlier today, Dan, and I couldn't help but think to myself, either this person exists or like a
Yeah.
tulpa, you have manifested this person into existence.
So like interestingly enough, I mean, I'm not going to say exactly who it's based on because there are like, I suppose, potentially like legal claims if someone's just like, this, you base this on me, whatever. That it's probably nothing, but like I think we all know that there's a certain type of like TikTok personality which is very
Wasn't one with like a literal glowy, the glasses one, like she worked for the FBI?
Yeah, that may or may not have been the one that I based this on. So may or may not. I'm not going to commit.
Her husband is like, she's like an FBI typist, and her husband's involved in like some glow in the dark activity, or is like an ex like veteran or something. Like I don't know, he was in Desert Storm.
Yeah.
It's sus. It's sus. But anyways, you know the one. There's also the fake Hawaiian one. You know the
That one
mid
I don't
girl.
know actually.
You know the mid girl.
I'm no, not.
Is this the one that famously had the meltdown when they called her that?
Yeah, that
Oh,
one.
so this is like the Hawaiian Jewish chick that like
Yeah.
stands for indigenous rights despite being as white as I am, although not looking
Whiter.
I must have missed this one.
Yeah.
But some of her videos were kind of like funny though. I gotta admit, like the one where she's like, "If you can't call women, you're a beta." Like that one's pretty funny. Then, like the one
that's
where
potentially singling out and marginalized communities. So I don't know if that's appropriate.
well, that's the thing about using
That's anti-Italian racism right there.
Yes, exactly.
yeah, exactly. Or I was gonna say like anti-incel, but that's like that could be another category. But no, but that was funny. But her famous one was where she's got the big milkies and she's like, "This is an actual mommy GF," and she's like yelling at you, like just yelling at you. That was fun. We gotta invite her on the show. No, we get destroyed.
But
it was so doxing Dom. I found it fascinating. So can you describe it in your own words, Dan? Doxing Dom.
So doxing Dom was like, again, I was watching these TikTok videos that blew up on Twitter, and there were videos of several people. I'm not going to say which one, but there was like a woman who would like threaten to or not threaten, she would actually like dox people in her TikTok videos, and she did have indeed like big milkers and was very woke. And so the premise of this short story is that this not this person in real life, but a fictional person that I created has those characteristics and is operating as a sort of like dominatrix, and right-wing men are paying her to threaten to dox them and to like in general like do what a dominatrix would do, which is to berate or humiliate or what have you. And so through this lens, this kind of like exploration of their OnlyFans style connection, I kind of tried to tease out the strange at times like attraction between more right-wing men and more left-wing women.
Yeah, that's something I've been fascinated with actually. Like why are we attracted to these sirens? Literally.
Yeah.
Like is it just like is it sort of, can you like relate it to like a fetishism? Is it sort of like in a lot of BDSM dynamics, you have like that sort of the power of it, right? But is it just like a forbidden fruit thing? Like I never understood this.
I think there's kind of two sides of it. I think one side is, so like, we can kind of like take as, accepted truth that because like, I know both of you, I know who your listeners are, that these, woke women are kind of like accepting ideas that are, unnatural and abominable in many respects. And so, that being kind of the starting point, you kind of like, if you believe that these ideas are terrible, you kind of, either want to, there's a kind of like immediate chemistry in that there's like, this is a person who like, if she is a woman and she is attractive, you are attracted to her, but her like whole worldview and premise is just so, abominable.
Distorted.
And, yeah. And you like either want to dominate her and, kind of, force her to, accept, your worldview. Or, in the context of this story, he enjoys being, berated by her. And, there is obviously.
I think you called it the rainbow-colored Damocles over his head.
Yeah, a rainbow-colored sword of Damocles dangling over his head. So, that also gets into like another. So he is like he is paying her to threaten to dox him. But in addition to that, like she is kind of just providing more customary kind of like berating or whatever dominatrix type of services. But in addition to that, like, yes, she is threatening to dox him. And so that is something like very interesting too, because it's not something that I've really thought about with women so much. As not exclusively with women. I've thought about, the risk of being doxxed more. And I think, probably you two are somewhat more, less concerned about those things. Like you do face dox. I am in a situation where that would not be, that would be very detrimental to my career. So I do not do those things. So like there is this like, and I know other, anons who have the same concerns. And so there is this real kind of like, charged, fear of being doxxed and like what it would cause, but also like a kind of like a moth drawn toward the flame, a like almost desire to have it done, because like then suddenly you'd be free. So I felt like
I know
there's
like
like
a lot of like very like Fed posty type people do this. Yes,
yeah.
that's true.
And so I feel like there's actually an odd parallel to kind of like the sexual dynamics in these relationships, where like, there's something that they like don't, want to embrace, be it like they want to, brutalize women, or they want to, submit to women or whatever. But like they are able to, like, through this kind of, perverted relationship, embrace something that frees them. And so, like, so too, I feel like the embracing the inevitability of doxing, or the possibility of it, that is a freeing proposition in some respects. Because, it just suddenly, I mean, if you were, suddenly, well, all the cards would be on the table, and you'd be free to, you would take your hits and be free to, do what you need to do.
I think that's what, yeah, well, there's this one part in the end where you sort of linked, like, him providing for his family to, like, the erotic thought of like ruining it. I think it's very, like, it's almost like it reminds me of Bataille and eroticism, where it's like, in a way, like, the erotic is linked towards destruction. It's linked towards a blowing out of the self, So yeah, it's like, exactly. So it's like, it's this fundamental link between the sort of completion through the end. It's sort of like a nirvana. Like, I know Freud, like, called it the nirvanic principle. Like, why we have this capacity for self-destruction as well as like preservation of life. And I feel like that's probably, like, I think, like, that is sort of like the little death, like, you could destroy, like, everything just by, like, frog posting and having, like, a normie job.
Well, exactly. Like, as any man who is aroused can tell you, you'll do things in those situations that are very ill-advised, and it is something that is just, like, truly, you just, like, in some moments, if you're, like, captured by the animal spirits, whatever, you just don't care. And I feel like there is that kind of parallel to you get online, you get in a persona or whatever, and you're just like, wait a minute, I'm suddenly, like, I'm free in a way I haven't been free in the real world. And what if I could just kind of complete this, and I could just be like, I could be Dan Baltic in reality. Well, like, that's a pretty it's a pretty powerful proposition, and definitely a little death of sorts.
Exactly. It's like that, who's that one podcaster? She's like a Chapotard. She's like affiliated with Chapo. She's got, like, an OnlyFans. I believe she's also.
That doesn't narrow it down.
No,
at all.
I think I actually, I know her.
She's actually
the big
of this particular
big naturals. Like, oh fuck.
Jamie Peck.
Yes, Jamie Peck.
Yeah. It's like, you look at her, right? It's like, oh yeah, she's got that, like, how does JJ the Jackoff Plane describe it? She's got, like, the sort of not, like, skinnier, but not like sort of like not like totally Rubenesque, but she's got, like, the sort of more softer body, skinny, like, but she's got the the milkies, right? And her face is good, but it's like, that right away, like, just by looking at her. Like, I mean, come on, OnlyFans, Marxist podcaster, tattoos, like, it's like all red flags. Like, it's red flags all the way down. It's like it's Naphthol red. It's like total, red, but it's alizarin crimson red. But it's like, you look at that, it's like, well, I mean, she does look good, but in the way, like a widow spider kind of looks good to a fly, right? So
exactly, yeah. No, I mean, she's the perfect archetype of that. And
she's just, like, stupid. Let's face it, she's stupid.
But yeah.
Well, I think her, bro?
Yeah. I'm not like very closely, but
oh my god,
I'm in New York City. These overlapping.
I thought you were in Chicago.
No, I'm a New Yorker. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
I've been like New York posting about the The subways of New
the
York.
subway jujitsu match earlier.
BJJ
Yes.
mask.
But
Oh my
that's
God.
later in the pod. We're on perversion right now.
Prude, what do you think? I mean,
I would. I'll speak humbly from experience because 2016 was a great time to be in college. There are times where you will meet someone that is just you will find viscerally stupid in their political takes, but they're also attractive, and so you just want to hate fuck the shit out of them, and that'll happen. So the story is oddly relatable in a sense where it's like, oh yeah, like I would definitely go back to try and screw someone out of their shitty politics into based right-wing politics. And sometimes that works, sometimes that doesn't. But in this instance,
Sometimes
it's like someone is rather having a rainbow colored sword of Damocles over their head, into the magical window of the internet, terrible things can be done to you, both for perverse pleasure, but also to ruin your career. And so that's why I said at the beginning, I said, Dan, I feel like this person either exists in real life or you've willed her into existence. But now that I know that there's some fed honeypot thing that may or may not have been inspiration, that just tickles me even more because it's hilarious. But no, I mean, it's a story that I feel like has probably happened to somebody, or, some anon DMs. Or you slide into somebody's DMs, or you reply guy to somebody and something happens, and then lo and behold you realize who they are IRL, and then things get really bad really quickly. So
well, that was like Nutcracker.
The post nut clarity of this story is just like, well, I'm out of a job, but was it worth it?
Lefty pussy got me acting strange.
They him has got me acting all kinds of strange. Please need those super chats. Someone super chat, because I might be missing part of the Leafs game for this. Someone. I love how that's the important part.
Oh, they're playing the Florida Panthers, bro. It's game 2. No, but listen, it is important because it's the first time they made it to the second round in like 19 years. I was a kid. I was watching as a kid when they made it past the first round, but of course they got eliminated by the Flyers that year. But anyways, no, see those super chats. If you want to do an F, Mary, Redact, Jamie Lynn Peck, Ayala Girl, and who would be a third one? Who's like a semi-attractive? Annika Spirit? Nah, that's too easy. You need a mid girl. You need like a mid, like the leftoids are like ranked with mids. I wonder who would be a good one.
Law of averages, man.
I'm like,
I don't know,
not
Lindy
actually
West?
very
That's too
good
much.
with leftist girls.
Nobody remembers Lindy West, though. That's a shame. No, it's not a shame, actually. No, she's not worth remembering. But I'm trying to think who would be like Pearly Things is not a leftist. Come on, she's like a pick-me. Right? Nina Power is like sort of like not a leftist anymore. She got canceled pretty hard.
Angela Nagel.
Angela Nagel's a good one because she's kind of like
she's still a leftist, really. I mean,
she's still a leftist.
Yeah. Well,
haven't you spoken with her at one point?
I should. I could get that done.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like you've interacted with her at some point in the past.
Well, I know people that know her.
I was just thinking of your Follow the Rules days, if you had her on or not. I was trying to remember.
We were going to get her on, but then something happened with scheduling. I don't know. Or maybe she was creeped out by love. I don't know. I forget. No, Angela Nago is still... AOC. Yeah, but AOC's too... I don't particularly like AOC. She's kind of like... I don't know.
I'm going to say I do, man. She like... I'm not
but that's a New York thing coming out of you, though.
Maybe.
It's like, come on.
She's...
Lacey Green, there's a good one, Lacey Green.
Well, I don't think I'd ever want to be anything near that's also touched Chris Ray Gun, so makes that one a little easy. I don't know, because like the AOC thing is just like if you've ever lived in El Paso or any part of the border town, like you'll realize that there's a look about her that's also similar.
Yeah.
So it's just like,
Pokimane looks kind of gross though. I'm not gonna lie. No, but is Pokimane a leftist? I mean, they all are.
They had that big Among Us like stream during one of the election cycles with AOC and the squad.
Oh, that's right. And Pokimane was involved. Yeah.
Wait, so Trigglypuff, was that the one who looked like Harry Potter in the?
No, that's the one video? Behind. Yeah, no, it was a video from from the Gamergate days where she's
all
like,
right, yeah. That's
yeah,
so
free
good.
speech,
Yeah.
free speech. I forget what she was saying.
Right.
She's
Yeah. No.
look at this one, maybe Nancy Pelosi circa 1960, probably, but she's all right when she was young.
I mean,
Pretty good.
AFK probably hit that.
It would be probably. You know what's so funny is that there's politicians in America that have been there since like almost like the late 50s. Like, why is that?
yeah, like your president.
Like the president,
Silent
exactly.
generation, man. That's some old school shit.
Joe Biden's a baby boomer, isn't he? Like 46.
No, he's actually silent generation. He's
like technically.
Oh, he's 8.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
1942.
He's like 40, yeah, 43 or something like that.
1942.
Oh wow, 42. All right, yeah.
Yeah,
Jeez.
Trigglypuff was the fat one. Yeah.
Okay,
She was
yeah,
bouncing up and down.
It reminds me of that bit from Scrubs where the nurse is like calling out Bob Kelso, and it's like, this picture of you is so old, the beach is still segregated.
No, but I feel like, okay, I know that physiognomy is a thing, but there is like mildly attractive leftist women. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a thing. It's a reality. I mean, I don't like AOC because I feel like she's a Latina 4, not even. Like, if you want to go by Latina standards, but then if you want to go by New York Latina standards, that's different. Abby Martin, there you go. That's a good pick, Kevin. Abby Martin. We were talking about Abby Martin last week. Apparently, she has a kid now, and she married some Iraqi veteran that protested the war. So it's kind of on brand for her, you know. Nikki Haley.
Isn't that the basis of like some shitty Netflix rom-com where
a
guy hooks up with some lib and like they try and like, I guess she's in it for the benefits or whatever, and he goes off to war and he gets wounded or whatever. Like, you know, some nice apologetics before the next war rolls around. remember, sailor, you too can snag a BPD girl for that TRICARE and, you know, basic housing allowance if you're willing to die for Taiwan.
What if we kiss through the fence? Do you mean what if we kiss through the West Bank fence? Is that what you mean? She's not a leftist though, Ugar Sargon. She was posting some pretty base things.
I mean, she was on Good Old Boys, and like
that's right.
She was pretty based, I thought.
Yeah,
relatively based. Like anti-woke.
The problem with those types though is that they'll always like revert back to being rad femmes as soon as like they get like the mildest pushback from the right, they'll like go immediately back to being a rad femme, like that Aubrey Horn person. Just like really, well, you know why I don't like her? Because she broke mutuals with me. And that's unforgivable. How dare you break mutuals with me? But
I don't think anyone's done that with me.
it's AOC is like
a
Puerto Rican
account,
3.
So.
Yeah, I agree with that one. Like, if you want to go by Puerto Rican hot standards, I mean, come on. I mean, it's like I hate. You know what? That's I feel
nice
bad
rack.
for you.
She's like, her face is a little horsey, sure, but like, I don't know. She has like
annoying,
a kind of.
That's a problem.
Well,
she's annoying.
Okay, she's annoying, but like in a cute way. Like she's just like very like kind of.
There
like,
are 500.
Very, very like I don't know, like. Very like little girlish, and that's yes, she's wrong, but like little girls are supposed to be wrong. So.
I could go. This is like you get JJ the Jagoff playing on stream. That's something you would say though, like
534 other members of Congress that you have to put up with or deal with in this ranking.
Yeah, true.
And so, not too many. The pickings are slim in the House of Representatives.
Is there any other hot politician, Boebert, maybe?
Yeah, I like Boebert.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think that you need the comparison for a MAGA mommy to be discussed in these kind of political. Because what is politics other than the pursuit of pussy by other means?
Who's good? That Jenna Ellis woman, I think.
Oh, the Trump lawyer.
Yeah. She's decent.
Yeah, the Trump lawyer. No, Mr. Bertulli, I have a confession to make. I was actually listening to Night Owls on my alt account because I saw that Night Owls was there, and I'm like, oh man, like I literally drop everything just to listen to Night Owls. AA had default on. That's right. I was I don't know why.
That was
AA
a surprising crossover.
Yeah, that was a surprising one. Marjorie Taylor Greene if she was like 20 years younger, maybe. But I don't
She's
know.
got man hands.
Yeah, she's got man hands. She had man hands.
I mean, she's pretty jacked. Like, that's not
Yeah.
my thing. I mean,
Well-
like, it's better than being like, totally fat. But yeah.
Did you see that on Reddit? It's been like a month and there's still like viral Reddit posts about Bizlet's tweet.
Oh,
about,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
the buff
Yeah,
girl.
That's great. Yeah. No, I mean, like, if you could like swap out the face and if it were a man and it would like the body would look like essentially like still appropriate, that's not cool. Like,
Yeah, that's not my thing.
That's not something.
Like if a woman is fit,
really
that's different.
want.
But like if it's like jacked, it's like I'm going to
Yeah.
bed with China,
Like, okay, I think here's like a good rubric: a 4-pack, pushing it, but okay. A 6-pack, get the fuck out of here. No.
Yeah.
Like, not.
Did you ever see that shoot interview where X-Pac describes going to bed with China?
I vaguely do remember it. Yeah.
Yeah, but never mind. I can't say it for you too. Oh man, that was a funny one though. R.I.P. to a legend though. I miss Tony. China was pretty cool.
Yeah. Good performer.
But anyways, why are we talking? Okay, so what's another theory I'll take on doxing? I really liked it because I think you have an ability to like convey like very like schizoid like out there internet culture, but to make it like palatable for the type of stuff that you write. Like I think like Nutcracker was like really great in that regard. And
Thank you.
Yeah, like I feel like I remember like just describing like I shouldn't do this, but let me read you a little thing.
Yeah,
I'm trying to
please.
clean it up, trying not to like be. Oh man, let me find.
Please. No, I mean like actually, there's very little swearing. I think in Nutcracker, so it should be fine.
Oh my God! No matter the nature of one's personal sexual aesthetics, it could be denied that Laya quite simply had big effing knockers, fat milkers, Khazars, swelling with the business of life. Simultaneously obscene and beautiful, and guaranteed to bring the men of the village to paraded attention. But not all men wish to stand. Faced with the intoxicating femininity of Leia's mammal tummy and ham hock thighs, prosciutto thighs, some men wished only to kneel, to sit and beg Leah to forgive them for their unwoke opinions and so-called white male privilege. Man, that's incredible. That's amazing. You really should write anonymous smut. Like you should go into that.
No, I mean, it's like it crossed my mind, but like frankly, so like this is my take on, because I have thought about writing erotica, frankly, but like I wouldn't make enough money. Like I make, good money being a lawyer. So like I don't need to make money really. So like in my spare time, like I want to just write the stuff that I want to write. Like I want to write the doxing
most erotic,
Nutcracker. Like yes, like Nutcracker and doxing dom are erotic in parts, but like it's also like it's not in the service explicitly of getting you off. It's in the service of like telling a story and conveying it like a greater truth. Now you might get off while I'm telling it. It's okay. It's that's fine. But that's not the point.
Yeah.
I'm with Kevin on this one.
You write erotic. No, but if you upped the actual description in lurid detail, here's a secret: most erotica is actually written by men with female pseudonyms. That's what Matt Forney told me. Because you like all those like
100%.
lit erotica tech sites, like they're all guys. Yeah.
No, definitely, because like I mean, I have read some erotica in my day.
Oh yeah.
And certainly like this, very few of these stories could have been written by women. It's just
there are some though, but they're like weird, like 40-something femcel shut-ins who have like intense erotic fantasies that no man would ever live out with them. So like
here's the problem. as I see it, like women are fundamentally, their sexuality is, inner based. They're concerned with like people acting upon them. They're not object based. Like men are like, this is the woman I want to F. And so we're like more prone to be able to describe and engineer stories.
Exactly.
Women are just more like, I was ravaged. And that's the reason why I think I don't want to say anything that is going to, complicate YouTube situations, but I think that is the reason why, a lot of women are more likely to have, certain sexual
Fantasies.
not even fantasies, but identifications, because
Oh yeah, that's true.
it doesn't matter to them, um, who exactly is doing stuff to them. It matters, like, that stuff is being done and the nature of the stuff that is being done. And like for a man, that's just like so ridiculous because like you don't fantasize about stuff being done to you. I mean, maybe some
Some
do,
people do
but
actually. Some, yeah.
but I
There
mean,
is
like
that.
more and more often, you fantasize about doing stuff to well, if you're heterosexual, to women, and if you're homosexual, I suppose to men.
That's why like
It's
media
not
depictions.
my jam, but
Yeah. No, but that's why like media depictions of BDSM, like did you know like the majority of DOMs are actually men? Like there's very few actual
oh yeah,
there is women dominatrixes, but it's very much like a male phenomenon. There is like there are more women who are, bottoms or subs or whatever.
oh
Um
100%. I mean, that's in their
yeah.
nature. It's just like, yeah. I mean, and it's in man's nature to not I'm not even gonna say necessarily be dominant, but just to be the actor, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is to be dominant in some respect.
There are like but there are a few though, women doms. But
Oh no,
then
there
that
are. There definitely are.
they're very like male brained. They're very, I was watching this one episode, this one season of I think it was season 2 of Kink, where it had like one of them. And I think she's in Toronto too, actually. And like very, very like you could tell like this person has female autism. Like it's you could tell right off the bat. Prude, what do you think of this? Do you think Dom sub question? He's-
What do you want me to add?
I feel like
This is not things I talk in public about.
sometimes Prude's silence is better than
It's better for my own sake sometimes. No, but I yeah, most of that stuff is written by men. Dime store novel smut is produced by men for women. Although I wouldn't be surprised if there's like a hefty majority of it that's also purchased by men.
Oh yeah.
They'll tell you most of the time in like locker room conversation, or if you have a few drinks, they'll say that like women are text based, men are much more visual, which I think is pretty much the standard. Which is why like there's such a glut and overly done bits for those kind of, I don't even want to call them services, but that's what they are.
Oh, yeah.
And the interaction with it, and I think what's only made that market so oversaturated is because there is such an intrinsic epidemic of lonely men. And so,
Yeah.
anyone and their mother could be, literally anyone and their mother could be the kind of person to hold it, like in Dan's story, hold the rainbow sword of Damocles on there, or others, which, from what I was reading, because I finally picked up Bowling Alone. And then because I wanted to write about loneliness in that respect. And then I was reading that a lot of the people that are successful on OnlyFans are not necessarily outside of celebrities who make their money that way. And there's some that do very clearly, but the people that do well use it as a parasocial friendship simulator with a little bit of TNA every now and then, but nothing to the degree of like, oh, you've seen all the goods, there's no point anymore, right? Like they know how to literally lure a guy along. So you've got like this entire oversaturated market of just average, ordinary, like mids on the internet who think that, well, I could probably string 3 or 4 guys along for like $8 a month, right, and play the game. And those ones that from what I was reading, tend to be more successful than those that just, show everything or do sets and things like that.
Yeah.
So I just think that, stories like what Dan's written, I think are actually kind of an interesting reflection, because I think if you're a guy on the internet nowadays, whether you want to be or not, you're like intrinsically political, like especially if you're just like a white guy on the internet, then like politics is almost like what you breathe. So, this sort of stuff I feel like naturally exists, whether they're glowies or not, and people are more than likely to have that kind of thrill seeking because, well, there's nothing else going on in their life, so why not mix a little bit of sex with your politics and see what happens? I mean, if you're a political animal, that automatically implies you're a sexual animal, and they go hand in hand.
That's like, who's that Angela woman? We've talked about her before.
What, Angela
Nagel?
Davis?
No,
Nagel?
not Angela Davis or Nagel. Angelina, the forehead girl, forehead woman, the 5-head woman.
Oh, the one that had her drinks when Trump got indicted.
Yeah, but like every week she posts that video
Angela,
of like
it's got
Bella
something.
and Chiamo.
It's something Italian.
Yeah, but like she has an OnlyFans.
No, Bel Camino.
Bella Camino, yeah, and she like posts these videos about like, this is what a smart, sexy, blah 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 liberal woman does, and she's like walking down the street, or she's like having some mimosa cocktail full of calories. Maybe she's peating, maybe she's repeating, but no, like I
gotta
feel
get
like
some of Doxadil for her hair.
take some TC3. No, but like I feel like what's some dumb liberal woman going to do? But like I feel like there probably is like conservative boomer men that probably do pay for her OnlyFans, because
I'm sure, yeah.
Like she almost like invites attention by like groiper, like she loves getting groiped. Like that's the thing. Like it's a mutual fetishism. It's like conservative boomer men that watch Fox News see like this mid woman with like a crazy forehead talking about how they're evil and blah blah blah, and like you tell what she's doing, right? But then you also have like the excitement of like her getting groiped every single video that she posts, every single tweet she's getting groiped. So it's like that's also part of the erotic like excitement, which really it's true that all politics boils down to like a libidinal economy, a libidinal exchange, like what Prude was saying. It's like, it's really fascinating. It's like she, like, like she probably loves getting groiped. Like she could imagine like a literal chudjack guy with like the jaw and like the glasses. Never mind. But you know what I mean?
Well, you know what is the best example of this was the rather infamous, and I don't like bringing it up, but the rather infamous groiping of Ashley Colby.
Oh yeah,
because she blocked Martin. She blocked myself included. And she went out of her way on her husband's account to find this space about her, and then proceeded to endure like a 3-hour struggle session. If that wasn't sexually charged, I don't know what was.
No, totally. Like it's true. Like it's like the whole like AOC thing. Like I don't like listen. I don't particularly like that guy. I think he's kind of obnoxious. But who's the guy that like raped her in real life? Like the juicy Latina booty thing. What was the guy's name?
Oh, Alex Stein or whatever. The guy.
Yeah,
something like that. Where he goes out of his way to troll people in DC.
Yeah.
Look up his name.
But like that, I feel like the way.
Yeah, Alex Stein.
Yeah, like it's just, I don't know. Like that was weird and creepy and like, but then at the same time, like AOC made like so much hay out of it. This, I don't know. Like what I was like shocked is like AOC's like white, like ginger boyfriend was with her, or fiance or whatever.
Fiance, which made it worse. Like,
yeah, he like didn't do anything. Like it's
and then right, like she went to Instagram to basically publicly struggle session him about like, ladies and allies of Instagram, what can you do to ensure that like that thing never happens, that your man can stand up for you in like a non like violent but confrontational way. And it was just like, what was proof there? Like, why are you still engaged to this man? Like, what are you doing? Like he failed to defend you in this instance against some troll dick on the Capitol Hill stairs, you know? Like that was more emasculating for her fiance than it was to embarrass or troll her, because he just like kept walking faster.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, clearly she loved it. I mean, she publicized it, and like, frankly, she gets by on her sexuality. So like, this is great
Yeah,
for
like
her.
I'm not saying that women like inherently want to be perved on, obviously, but I feel like I'm
Well,
not saying that, but in the I'm trying to make it PC here. But no, I do think that there is, I feel like if you are a public figure like AOC, there's, I mean, I know it's uninvited, but at the same time, like, you have to expect that people are going to, like, why do you think a lot of like leftist men worship AOC? Because she's a Democrat 10, okay? She's a Republican 10, actually. Well, I would say the
like
Republicans have
politics
had,
then.
yeah, like she's a politics 10, but I feel
She's a
like the
DC 10.
DC 10. But no, like I feel like like Republicans do have their version of hot girl, but it's like the Fox News woman, or it's like the Palin MILF like idea,
Yeah.
which I feel
Yeah,
like
it's the mid 40s to early 50s blonde, overly done makeup that you would see
yeah,
at like a church brunch or something. It's like
it's a
every
particularly
other
American
Fox News thing.
phenotype.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Things
a
that
very
you would
American.
things that you'd associate with like a white southern woman with like either blonde hair or dyed blonde hair that you'd probably see like a family reunion or a church function. And they play to their demographic well, because like the average age of like a Fox News viewer is like what, 68.5 or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
just like, yeah, having like a MILF looking blonde, something that you could probably think that you could get after one or two beers, is probably the right kind of thing to keep your attention. And it really does like illustrate the differences between like Anglo-settled countries and like, more Latin American Spanish conquered territory, where it's just like, on one hand, we've got the sort of modestly dressed, but still, leaving a little to the imagination with how it fits her form. And then, you've got the hot, sexy weather girl, out on the television.
Yeah. Philip Daniel brings up a good point that Orwell wrote. Orwell was like a leftoid as well.
And a notorious
yeah.
sex fiend.
Yeah, he said like about the inherent racial inferiority of white people is attributed to a psychosexual fetish. Yeah, I mean, of course, that's like obviously like what explains like the male feminist, what explains like the white like Democrat, like what's that organization,
DSA.
DSA. Yeah, like that's like what is explaining it, other than like some kind of isn't there a black girl niche in the GOP? Is there Prude? I think there is.
Yeah, I mean the Candace Owens type.
Yeah.
And then I think there's one or two at
Politicians.
TPUSA. There's one with the Daily Wire. They're token in their own way, but that's always been the case, right? There's a running joke, and Nick Land makes fun of it inside of The Dark Enlightenment, where he's just like, what do you call the one black guy in like a Republican Party convention? You call him Mr. Chairman. Because there's just a racialized sort of form of, it's the Stone Toss comic, where it's just like the one black guy says, actually I think white people are okay, and they're like, here you go, king, like hand and foot on for him. So yeah, it's very prominent inside
that's how
Democratic
Zuby has a
Republican Party politics.
Yeah.
Gio, you're spiritually a male feminist. No, I'm not, Luis.
He's a woman appreciator. There is a very subtle difference.
Very subtle. No, but were you gonna say, Dan? Like, there is like I mean, there is something to it, but I feel like will there be like, I don't know, I'd imagine like there would be. I didn't want to talk about this.
No.
I really did not want to talk about this person. But do you know that in Tennessee, what's this? Your friend Jeremy Carbo really like Prude, like your friend like really went to the heart of the beast there, the belly of the beast, by going after these people.
Oh, Mr. Zephyr.
Yeah, Zoe Zephyr. I mean, we shouldn't misgender for YouTube, but she like has this like, I remember like this video where she's like getting a standing ovation. And again, I'm only saying she for YouTube, right? Obviously. But getting a standing ovation. Sorry, this person getting a standing ovation in Tennessee, and it's like it's mostly women, obviously, but it's like there's so many like hundreds of like 50,000 likes on Twitter, and it's really you could just blackpill yourself. But will like the sort of like the impossible women vote in the Democrats, will that shape their like political eroticism, for lack of a better term? Will Democrat like DSA like like aging millennials that went to Occupy Wall Street, are they now all of a sudden going to like take the vouch thing and be like, you know what, they're actually hot? Like it's really a fascinating, like they have to like contort themselves to do it. Like,
It's hard to
yeah.
say. Like I don't think there is. I mean, like I live in New York City. I do know a lot of libs, a lot of men who are libs, and I don't think there's much acceptance of this idea that they're hot. But there's certainly, though, like Hollywood tries to meme that, but like with like Euphoria and whatever. But yeah, no, I don't really see that going. Maybe Howling Mutant has had a few comments,
Well,
but
but like, you know what I mean? They have to like accept it now. They have to like pretend
yeah,
that,
no, of course.
yeah.
Like it's an increasingly cucked situation. So you're just like
I think
increasingly
Gio.
like
Go ahead, Dan. Sorry.
there's just like less and less stuff you can object to, and you're just like, sure, fine.
I think though it's more of a male phenomenon than it probably would be women. Like, I mean, you look at who was it, Reese Witherspoon or whatever actress that was with Dylan Mulvaney, and she's on her knees on this like talk show that she
Oh, Drew
hosts.
Barrymore.
Drew Barrymore, thank you. I don't know why I get those two confused. And it's just like, here is a woman on her knees in front of an obvious man. Like this isn't for her benefit. This is for him to get off on. And like you
Yeah.
can look at like those aging millennials who supported Occupy Wall Street. Like I just think of like the amazing atheist who's got his own problems. And it's just like, like the Quran is wrong, the Bible is wrong, the Bhagavad Gita is made up, but like girl dicks are real. And it's just like, this is clearly an expression of a man's like warped and perverse fetishes and sexuality that has been ideologically accepted by his politics in 2023. So
Yeah,
whatever he was probably like illicitly looking up on his like iPhone 1, 10, 15 years ago, is now commonplace. And so like, again, even though things have definitely gotten more cocked and things are way less high tea than they were 50 years ago, like it's still a patriarchal system because like men still have needs and men are going to like fulfill any way which form to fulfill them. And so if that means that the DSA guy at the conference who's clearly got a dress on and you can see his bulge telling you the need for like universal basic income now, darn well that what he wants at the end of the day is someone to tell him that he's a pretty girl while he's like rambling on about equality or something. Like that's what's going to happen. And politics is the greatest way to do that because politics is a route to power and power gets you laid.
No, but that's what I mean. Like I remember like ZHP on my show said like individual men have a will to power. It's not that the left has a will to power. It's that men have a will. Like, what really sunk it for me was when Amy Therese and Jeremy Carl were like showing before photos of that Aaron person that like is dating Zoe Zephyr. They always have like names, like it's always some kind of like fetishistic name, like Zoe or Aaron, or like, well, in Aaron's case, actually, it was literally because this person, when this person was a boy, was best friends with a girl that named Aaron. And so like he became Aaron. Like I remember Amy Therese posted about that. But I remember like seeing the before photos, I'm like, now it makes sense. That Mary Harrington article, it makes sense of like this is like
become
low,
the girlfriend.
Yeah, like low status guys. How can you achieve political and cultural and social power in America, in like North America, and in the Western world nowadays? Like it's become like this thing, this, like that's, and I remember it made sense to me. Like it's
hard to say, right? How I think we're all like, I'm probably a little older than you both, but not that much older, and like certainly when, I'm not like tempted to be like, oh, I'm a lady and I'm gonna, advance my career that way. That would just be, ridiculous and anathema or whatever. It's just not something that entered my mind. But like the Zoomers or younger, like I don't know what they are being told or not told. So I could see potentially a generation that is even more unmoored from the post-war, 50s style morality, or even pre-war, which obviously would be stronger. They're just kind of like, well, yeah, it's a better deal if I pretend to be a woman. And that's not that's not an excellent situation for stability.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's like a stereotype now. I know that like, TERFs or whatever, they have this like stereotype, but there is like something about it. So, but I don't know, like even like from the right wing perspective, like I remember like when I was reading Nutcracker, like to contort yourself, ostensibly for like a higher goal, but then like at the end of the day, like, wow, this guy's just like doing like a fat leftist woman that like is humiliating him. Like it's just really like a high IQ autiste like plan. Like,
Yeah.
like it's like there was something like, it is wild. Like I think people don't want to think of it this way, that actually the reason we believe in a lot of things does come down to this like libidinal exchange, and that there is like a lot of like there's a lot of personal eroticism to like politics, especially nowadays, because it's in our face 24/7. It's like the air that we breathe, really. I mean, maybe it's just because we're like Twitter schizos, but like there is something to be said that like most of everyday life has become this, and so
Yeah.
naturally it will filter into what your picture. It really is like the pornographication of all life in a lot of ways. I mean that by like the gratuitousness of it. I mean, of course, like action, and of course, like there's actual prawn that has infested all of life. So it's like, but anyways, should we move on to the jiu-jitsu match?
I mean, it raises though an interesting question, because like we were joking about sort of the little death, the dreadful post nut clarity of, oh God, what have I done? And it does raise the interesting question of these sort of folks, Zoe Zephyr, Blair White, every political troon you can think of. Like, do you think they go to bed at night thinking, oh God, what have I done? Or are they just completely bought into it where that's the case? Like, I like to think that maybe there's like a shred of humanity left in these people, but maybe I need to kill that inside of me and just dehumanize them completely. But like, it raises an interesting question, because it's like, there's no way in hell I can imagine that someone who contorts themselves into a crude mockery of nature's perfection, is going to go to sleep at night and think, like Blair White, right? Like, there's no way
No,
Blair
but Blair
White
White's fascinating though.
Well, that is what's fascinating. Like, there's no way in hell,
Yeah.
in my opinion, that Blair White, for all intents, a man, just after getting railed by like Alex Jones or whatever, or Michael Malice, is probably thinking to themselves, was it worth it? Like, am I doing this for my career or whatever? Like, is this giving me power? Like, I don't know. And maybe like there's got to be something in the back of their head that's just like, oh well, yeah, oh shit, what have I done? But if not, then we're in a whole different stage of crazy that I may not be equipped as a commentator to discuss on.
No, but that's what I mean. Like, Blair White, I think, is probably the most fascinating out of all of them, because it's like, why would you ingratiate yourself in at least semi right-wing politics? Like, I know on Twitter, I know that there's like,
because every 2 months Blair White does that Twitter post about, if there's a bulge in a conservative woman's pants, it's a gun, and if it's a liberal, it's a penis. And it's just like, the irony's not lost on the rest of us who are in on this, but it's like, come the fuck on.
No, but I mean, like, they're like really weird, like accelerationist, like, impossible women who like read Nick Land, that are, for all intents and purposes, pretty much like weirdo techno fascists. Like, that's different.
Big fan of your work, clearly a sign of mental illness.
Like, those cases I can understand in part, because it's like they're generally high IQ they probably have some neurodivergency. But like Blair White just comes off as like this stereotypical like bimbo gun girl. It's like it's very interesting. Like why though? Like why? Like because like let's face it. Let's get like let's clear the air here. The right wing does have a politics that would prefer certain identity groups to not be proliferated in society. That's just like a fact. Like we can't hide from this. Like it's real, not that like what the left means by that is that the left means that like every right winger wants to like go out and redact like, certain people. And like, certainly, I mean, if you look hard enough, there is like weird, like there is like Fed posting, but I'm just saying,
as certain writers and commentariats have tweeted the obvious fact that if you look hard enough, there are some people that actually do want TND and don't mean it ironically, and then they get upset when you call them racist.
No, but like I'm saying, like the vast majority of people on the political right, it's like we do have a politics where it's like, yes, we prefer these things not to like be proliferating in society. Like me, I know that there's always going to be an underground of people that have like different, identities and have different like whatever. Like maybe I'm just more tolerant than the average right winger, but I'm saying like there is a situation where it's like, why would you be in a group that says that, you're not valid. I'm sorry, Blair, you're not a woman. Like that's, you know what I mean? Like, why is there this compulsion to like, like this is my based trans woman. You know what I mean? Like, why is that?
I think
Dan,
that she, he, whatever. Is this person Blair is capitalizing upon a unique factor about this person's appearance, and immediately like we're talking about this person right now. So if this is something that I think applies broadly across every subculture and culture more generally. Like if there's something that you can use to differentiate yourself from everyone else, and you're somehow in like a, if not preferred group, because I don't think on the right, obviously this is a preferred group, but it's like, well, you're that one,
you're
that,
the niche.
So like, I see why Blair did it. I mean, I can't speak to deeper motivations, obviously, but if you're kind of like raised in a culture that says this is okay, maybe, and you're just kind of like not very in touch with your own, obviously, your masculinity. You might think, why not? It's a better deal. And frankly and unfortunately, a lot of these men aren't wrong in thinking that it's a better deal.
Well, did you read the Mary Harrington article, Dan?
I haven't, no.
Well, it was like that. Like she linked to this one paper about feminization of these like incel, like, neurodivergent men. And it's like, I remember reading it. And I'm like, wow, this is actually like, when you, like, I know in the, in the internet, we joke about info hazards. This is actually an info hazard. Like this is actually a young, impressionable, like a sensitive young man could like read this and be like, you know what? Actually, this deck is like stacked against me. So it's just like, it is an info hazard. Like it's very
100%.
Yeah. But then again, I mean, I think like the TERFs probably have it wrong though. I mean, they still have like, I know in the E-right, we like tolerate them, but I don't know, maybe I should say things or else I'm going to alienate certain fans of mine. But I know like Default's going to rush into the chat, be like, no, go on, Gio, come on, do it. I'm like, Steven Crowder, an address to own the libs. Well, what do you guys think? Let's move on. So what do you think of the Steven Crowder thing? I don't know. I mean, we shouldn't even, I particularly don't care for him. So this is like, if he goes away, then that's probably good. But what do you guys think of the Steven Crowder situation?
It always sucks ass when a conservative commentator goes through a divorce. Like, I know there were a lot of people that were joyously sort of, getting their Schadenfreude takes in when Rod Dreher last year had announced his his divorce with his wife. I mean, I don't like Rod Dreher for other reasons, but I really can't take too much joy on the fact that a marriage, which, you know, if you're a Christian, and Rod Dreher definitely is, you know, that marriage is forever, you know, even if you are technically divorced, you're not divorced, which that's always a pity, and it sucks to see that. I don't think he's made his situation any better based upon what's been leaked out by the press. And considering that it's been leaked out by conservative commentators, it does give me the feeling that something more odious is going on behind in the background, and dark smoke cloaked rooms that I don't know about. So I don't know. I think that this is one of those fights or one of those take things that I'm just going to sit out and say that it's going to be ugly and nasty for all parties involved.
Yeah, Dan, what's your take?
So I'm actually not super familiar with the situation, but I believe he's getting divorced and is bisexual. That's more or less it, right?
Maybe.
And so, yeah, I mean, that sucks.
But did you watch the video?
No, what's the video?
It was a video where he's like berating his like pregnant wife for like, I don't know, not like giving his like dog some pills or whatever, and like how do I describe it? He's like, it's like, you know, when a man loses frame, it's kind of like that. Like, Prue, did you watch the video?
Are we talking about the Ring video?
Yeah, the Ring video. Yeah.
Yeah, I did watch it, and this was the interesting part, and this is what I will commentate on, was people saying, you know, like a lot of men, you know, they're talking about context, but don't look about context with other things. And I know that's primarily like a lot of like women tweets that I've seen out there on this, but it's just like, is someone who spent his undergrad years working in a family law office and had to like review those kinds of footage. There is so much shit that is not going to be shown that, you know, lawyers will use like a clip like that to prove a point. So I am firmly in well, we kind of need more than just this, because if not, like, this is going to look really shitty really fast in a court of law.
Yeah, true, but
but also the court of public opinion, which he's already screwed in, because there are portions of the right wing on the internet that hate him. There's the left that hates him, and there's a whole subset of Con Inc. that really wants to see him dead, buried, and gone because of the whole, you know, Daily Wire contract stuff.
He exposed the business, okay? He exposed the business. It was the curtain call for Connie. It was like he was going out there with the boys and giving them a hug after the cage match. Again,
and instead, reference. You know, they broke his legs with a tire iron, and his wife is gone too. So
yeah, like
I don't know the full context, but I mean the Ring video stuff made him look very catty and very gay, and that did not help at all, especially when you're arguing and yelling at your pregnant wife while sitting down and forcing her to do shit.
But first of all, why don't they have two cars? Here's the thing. If I had a pregnant wife, like if she was like very pregnant, of course I would be like weary of her driving, but I would be like, listen, babe, like I'll drive you. Like, why can he do that? Like, there's just, it was stupid. Like, he's an idiot. Like, it's just like, again, like context is like, you know, but that video alone, like that looked pretty bad. Like, is it like abuse? Probably not. Like, I don't know, like that term is being subjective now, but I do think it looks bad. And I do think like if it was, I don't know, I mean, you could say like if it was my wife, but then again, like, I mean, I'm not married, so maybe like they push you hard enough, you know. But again, it's like your pregnant wife, like, bro, just like drive her to wherever she had to go. Like, it's, first of all, why do they have two cars? He's a millionaire.
Yeah,
like,
it's weird.
Yeah, that's weird. But then, of course, like Radfem, you know, who was saying that that's a control mechanism, that they only have one car to like control her or whatever. But maybe, I don't know, maybe I think Steven Crowder has a lot of identity issues he probably doesn't grapple with very well. But
well, he's admitted a bisexual quote unquote phase. So I mean, yeah, he should probably get that under wraps. But you know, is it one of those things where it's like, well, I don't know what I am, but you know, if I'm locked into a marriage and I've got a wife and kids, I answer the question for me, you know, and then you can go back to your 1950s Polari and whatever. But who knows? Listen, babe.
Forget the Tim Hortons. Yeah.
Order and respect.
Exactly. Yeah. That was such a quote. I remember Nightmare Vision. What did he say? Like something in respect of?
No, he just said order and respect, and he quoted, and he had a picture of a Chud Jack and royalty with a crown on a throne.
Yeah, he's like, you're not respecting me. I'm the man. I have to I feel like it's like Steven Crowder. He is part of like this Black Rifle Coffee, like performative masculinity thing. It very much is like male to male, like I have to be a man and me. And I said this in response to a mutual of mine. I said, it's kind of like Junior Soprano saying like, if you have to keep saying that you're the boss, you're probably not the boss. And so it's like all these like masculinity grifters that are like, you have to like put your wife in your place, blah, blah, blah. It's like, I feel like if you had a marriage that was more traditional, your wife probably knows what the deal is. And you probably like don't have to verbalize every single like interaction. I'm the man.
Absolutely.
You have to respect me. Like that's so like not like if you're a man that's worthy of respect, I feel like if you're in a marriage or a relationship, then you're like GF your wife probably already respects you to begin with. Like I don't know. It's like, well, you guys have obviously way more experience than me. So like, what do you feel about this? Like, I don't know, Dan, do you have a GF for your wife?
Yeah. I have a long-term relationship at this point. I have a girlfriend, and
you're not. Why don't you put a ring on it yet?
Well, it's just been about like 6 or 7 months. Like we're getting there. It's gotta
See,
do
what's
a little,
so
due diligence.
What's so bad about that is you say long term, and I got really black pilled from him. And I was like, oh, Dan isn't one of those guys that's like with a woman for 5 years, asking when is she going to put a ring on it. But no, 7 months. Okay, we're good. 7 months.
7 months.
That's fine.
Yeah, no. This is like relatively, and I am like I'm 37, so like I am looking to settle down. So like,
she younger than you?
She is. Yeah, she's 20.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, it's a good gap. But yeah, no, I mean, definitely that is true. And I do think about it that like, if you have to say things, and ask her to do things and kind of like flex or whatever, you're not really in control. You're just kind of like asking her to submit to your whims. And you instead want to kind of just, be, just more naturally, like maybe you like, I don't know, if you want her to make dinner instead of being like, you need to make dinner tonight, just, be like, so we've been ordering out a lot, and you're making dinner tonight, right? Something like that. Just more, like of course, it's time to. I think we both need to make dinner, and it's your apartment, so that type of. But yeah, no, like in general, yeah. When you have to say you're the boss, I'm the man, like that, clearly you're not, because you have to, tell the person that you are.
Yeah, like you clearly have lost the frame by simply saying the jig is up, right? I'm saying this because why? Not because I have earned that aura of authority or respect. And I mean, men will know this real quickly if they've been through the dating game long enough. Women are really easy to women aren't. Well, some women are easy, but I mean, women can read you easily. And so they're going to be able to smell whatever shit test you put through them. And so like once you go out of your way and say like, well, I'm the man, I should do this. So like, and if you haven't earned it, right? Because like if you cohabitate with this woman or you've been on a date with him enough times so they know your background or whatever, they're going to like look at you and be like, okay, whatever. Right. Which makes things even more difficult in today's dating scene, regardless of whatever you're looking for. So, if you want that, you actually have to be that kind of guy, like you can't be someone that spends this time, performatively doing it, right? Like this is why it's always interesting when like a lot of masculinity grifters or trad accounts get like doxed, and then like you see them being like the complete opposite of what they are.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, some like right-wing Twitter autist gets doxed, and it's like, oh, he's actually the guy he says he is, which is like kind of stupid, but also incredibly well read on one niche subject. Like, okay, you know, you have to actually be honest, because the moment you start putting on this aura of
100%.
performativity, right? Like, either fake it till you make it, which means you have to eventually become it, or people are going to call you out on your shit really quickly, and you're going to be really frustrated sexually and in life.
But what if
Yeah.
you're not? But if you're not like a domineering man, like what do you do with women then?
I
How
mean,
do you?
I
I don't
think
know.
you just need to, you know, you need to find, I mean, if you have the kind of values that I think we all do to some extent, um,
Oh my
you
God, the Leafs just scored. Oh, sorry. Go ahead,
you,
Dave.
you need to find a woman with those values, and then just like, you know, be yourself. And you know, you yes, like you said, Prude, you can't pretend to be someone else, because not only is that something that, like, you know, they don't really respect, it's just like it's you know, not fun. You know, it's burdensome. You don't want to pretend to be someone else. You just want to, you know, be yourself.
But that's what I
And
mean. I feel like that's what I mean. Like I feel like a lot of these masculinity people, they have this like they're selling introverted men without experience this illusion that they could become like alpha or whatever. And so I feel like it's not it's not realistic. I feel like you can't take a man who's inherently like that.
yeah,
And
I
you know what
agree.
I mean? Like you need to find like you need like I don't know, maybe like you need to find like a not a masculine grifter, but you need to find like a voice that could like say to these guys, listen, like like there has to be a strategy for men who can't live up to this like male to male like masculine stereotype. There
Yeah,
has to be
yeah.
like some advice for that, because obviously
I
like
mean, I
there's
think
been
the most, you know, kind of
yeah
like, so like women, I think in general will respond well. Like obviously they're going to respond well to like Chad masculinity. That's a given. But like they will regardless continue to respond well to just like confidence. And you can be confident without being like a Chad. You just have to be confident in who you are. And, you know, that's something that I think almost anyone can do if you just are kind of like honest about who you are, because you're not going to feel any sense of like I'm performing, I'm like you know, pretending to be someone else, and you won't feel that sense of like phoniness. You'll just be authentic. And you know, and
be
that like
yourself.
your, yeah, yourself, that authentic you, that might not be, you know, that attractive to that many women, but it'll be attractive to some women, you know.
No, but I
It's
feel like be yourself is not like okay, it's not exactly like be yourself at your lowest point. It's being, I feel like what you can become.
yeah,
That's
yeah, exactly.
probably yeah.
Be yourself is an aspirational thing, and you actually have
Yeah.
to work to that aspiration. Because if you do the be yourself and you don't do anything to actually improve who you are, every chance that you get to you know, run, hit a home bait, you know, hit a home run, is going to be you getting you know, out on first base by having the spaghetti fly out of your pockets when you try and approach them or whatever. And that's the thing, is so when people say like be yourself, it means be who you wish to be aspirationally. And if you're serious about who you want to be aspirationally, you're working towards it. And most people, I think, fail to recognize that you actually have to work on self-improvement when we say be yourself, or that authenticity is key. Because, you know, you can post about wheat fields for the rest of your life, but unless you're actually doing something to attain some acreage lots where wheat fields can be planted, then good fucking luck getting that nice girl in the sundress, right?
Yeah. Yeah, be yourself, bro. Be yourself. But then again, like I
There's a
mean,
lot more context
yeah.
to it than that. I mean, it's memed to death by everybody and their mother, and pop culture doesn't help. But you actually have to put some effort in on your own end.
Well, I didn't want to. I wanted specifically to avoid this, but I guess while it's that type of stream. Um, by the way, the title of the stream, "Stumbledown Romancer," comes from a James Dewar album. Jimmy Dewar was the singer for Robin Trower, who unfortunately passed away early. Drugs and mental illness. But anyways, great album, by the way, Stumbledown Romancer. The body count discourse was like popping off last week. It's like, oh
That's a
my
good one.
god, that was a good one. Yeah. I feel like future Moldovan citizen had the best take, which is like, we can accept women who has a high body count if women can accept men that are overweight and don't make a lot of money. Like that's the best take right there. But I don't know, I find like the whole gender war thing on Twitter is stupid and not productive, but at the same time I feel like it does hit at an essential truth. And the body count discourse, it is kind of like ridiculous, but at the same time, and thank you boys for seeing those super chats. I don't know, what do you guys make of the body count? Let the bodies hit the floor. I don't know.
Like there is something to it, of course. Like if if a woman has been with X number of men, then certainly I think there probably is some
dysfunction.
Yeah, it's like it's indicative. Well, here's the thing. Like, it's not necessarily indicative of abnormality in today's society. Like, if you have a woman who's single into her 30s and she sleeps with like one one man a month, or a woman, who knows these days, but very quickly,
woman.
yeah, exactly. Very quickly, she's gonna rack up a high body count, and like, so I don't think body count is necessarily a proxy for true like derangement, like true emotional issues. Is it a proxy for someone who just like the simply the damage done by being with that many people, that you are more kind of cynical or jaundiced, or like, I can't really speak entirely to what it does to women, because like I'm not a woman, but like I am obviously a man, and I suppose I have a high body count by some standards, and it's I don't know. Like certainly like my high school girlfriend, it was just very easy to like immediately fall in love with her, and now I'm like more, uh, you see enough, and you're just kind of like, well, eh, these things are no longer new to me. These things are no longer, so, and also you just kind of like become very particular, right? If you like,
Yeah.
if you taste, a million different cuisines, you're gonna like suddenly be like, well, there's aspects of that I like, but also I like this one a little bit more, and then kind of like you're spoiled because you've just had too much, and you're just like trying to engineer something that's perfect, and that's of course not what what romantic relationships between men and women are supposed to be like.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I think unfortunately, a high body count, and I presume that whatever is true for men is probably doubly true for women, just because like men are more meant to, biologically and otherwise, meant to have multiple partners, many partners, and women are meant to have fewer partners. And this is just something that like it's if it impacts a man, it only impacts a man from a psychological level, whereas it does actually impact a woman's sexual market value, and to an extent the way a man perceives her. So like that, it's I think this is a doubly difficult situation for women, and for men to settle down with women with high body counts. That being said, like this,
Would you settle down with a woman with a high body count?
I would, yeah. Like
Mm.
I mean, not, I wouldn't be something that would, endear me to her, but it
Right.
wouldn't be something that would be like a total deal breaker. I
Yeah,
mean,
I
that
I
being
I
said,
wrestle with this question. I don't know.
yeah, that being said, like, you know, um, my girlfriends in the past, you know, they have not had high, and my current girlfriend, to be clear,
Uh,
does not
uh,
have a high body count. But like theoretically, if you know, it would kind of like, it's just like so many different factors. Like, frankly, if you could find a woman who like has the right values and is attractive, then it becomes like, well, is it possible for her to have the right values and to have slept around quite so much? I don't know. I
the
mean, like, I think,
reformed the
yeah,
reformed thought, like trad politics, like is like a morality car wash, where it's
yeah.
like, yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know. Well, Prude, what do you think of this? What do you think?
I think that Dan echoes a lot of sentiments that are similar to my own. I think that um,
If you had a
it's
GF
go
with a high body count, could you like live with that?
well, it's something that you might want to know before you go into it, right? Like,
Yeah, true.
um, and as someone who has slept around, right? Like, you definitely kind of just get used to the fact that this may be a subject of convenience, or both of you just like to get off and have dinner afterwards, or like you need to have the terms of the relationship kind of stated very clearly and what you want to do. And I think it also just depends on what you're looking for, what stage in your life that you're in. I mean, and everyone's going to have a different number that they kind of hard cut off and say no. And I think men are just predominantly pre-programmed to see what's fewer, because that just means that the likelihood for pair bonding is going to last a lot longer than those with an excessive high body count. I know that there are exceptions to the rule. It's modernity is the way how things are going to be. But I think for men, they also kind of need to consider, like, if you have, gone through the apple orchard a few times and you like, say, Granny Smith over, say, just, plain red apples or whatever, or something like that. The Honey Crisp isn't what you're liking, right? That's also going to play a role into the fact of,
Mm,
well, what if I land someone who has little to no experience at all? You are more than likely, I think, and I'm speaking on my own experience, so your mileage may vary. If you do meet someone that you think is absolutely perfect for you, or that you think it could work, um, but they have no experience whatsoever, and you have plenty as a man, I do think that there is room there for you to fuck it up very quickly. And
mm.
I don't know. And before I get, I'll shut up before I get too personal.
No, but what about the opposite? Like, it seems that that's probably more likely that a man has little to no experience.
Well,
Yeah,
nowadays, yeah,
full
I mean that is probably
experience.
the norm, and I guess
Yeah.
um, I think that would just require one of those like weird sit down moments where like when a woman asks like what are we, I think a man needs to, in that situation, I think you would need to say like, look, this is where I'm at, this is what I've got going for me in terms of experience. Like, I feel like that requires some kind of conversation that doesn't
Yeah.
lead into like women having their ick moment, but rather a like, look, I want to make this work for a variety of reasons. Sex, of course, probably being one of them, obviously. Like, but you would want it to work not just for sex, because like if you get married, right? Like one day you're gonna get old, and one day either it's not gonna work without pills, or both of you are just gonna be happy with each other in your own respects. And not to do the whole classic looks fade thing, because like my grandparents still do it, for God's sake. So it's not like you're not gonna stop,
Oh
but
boy, how do you know
um,
that?
don't ask. Don't ask.
You walked in on them, haven't
13-year-old me is scarred for life. But yeah, so
you?
like, just I think that you just need to have that kind of conversation and go from there, and just try and make it work.
Man, that's yeah. I feel like that's pragmatic, but then how come people sort of trip up on themselves so much? It seems like
Because people have a
yeah,
propensity for self-sabotaging behavior. They're like,
yeah,
I think that the internet, for one, definitely makes people really neurotic. The popular culture really incurs this idea that men and women should look at relationships like there's an open door or an exit sign for a way out, whether that's no fault divorce or I can just swipe left on the next person, right? And so I think people get really neurotic because we're kind of like this, the superstructure of relationships is still nominally monogamous, but like we live in a hypergamous, overstimulated, almost like, what Mark Fisher talks about, where like we're overstimulated, but we're bored kind of
Yeah.
deal. And that's the nature of a lot of like the dating game nowadays. And so like, well, how do you not be bored while still searching for novelty, while still searching for the rush that a 16-year-old feels when he falls in love for the first time? That's a hard thing to find. And so when you're lost up in this search and you're overstimulated, not just like sexually, but just like the nature of how dating works nowadays, I think people trip over themselves a lot, or they purposefully take things for granted and self-sabotage and fetishize their own misery. Like that's like a big thing I think that you see in these like depressed sort of like left millennial centrist types that are just like, I'm so sad, I'm alone, like I'm supposed to be, like I'm turning 29 and I've never had a boyfriend or whatever, or
Oh,
I'm
that
29.
one, yeah,
like
you saw
the
that. I posted
femcel
about
or the
that.
incel thing, right? Like both, it cuts both ways. It cuts in different organs, I guess. And so I just think that men have a propensity to, like, if they're not confident or they're not sure, they'll probably trip over themselves and self-sabotage. Whereas, and I can't speak for women, but I think that they do that in their own respects. They definitely self-sabotage in ways that become obvious if you've seen it more than once.
Well, I posted about this on a Telegram, which you all should follow by now, because I have spicier rants over there. I posted about like how that's sort of like an unseen category about like people that don't have any experience, how that's sort of like in the gender war, like online discourse, it seems like the true cell, both men and women, are sort of like overlooked, because a lot of people I notice, it's either like masculinity grifters or like embittered incels, or like embittered, like, because you have to realize like the femcel is different than the incel. The femcel has had experiences that, albeit are negative. I feel like you could probably find a lot more like actual incels than like the femcel is not defined by the lack of having sexual contact. It's sort of like it's a different thing. I feel like people have to get that out of their mind about like that they're the like equal to the incel. But anyway,
Like
Dan, you got this
the
point.
way I conceive of incels and femcels are, incels are the natural product of a hypergamous system on the male side,
Yeah.
and femcels are the natural product on the female side. And so the hypergamous system produces a class of men who have trouble securing a partner, and of course have trouble securing casual sex, because that is in some respects even more difficult for a man than securing a girlfriend or a partner.
Hmm.
And on the woman's side, you have these femcels who, yes, they in a hypergamous system, of course, have been able to secure sex. Who, I mean, a woman has to be truly, you know, um, abominable in appearance to, not secure sex.
But then sometimes it's
But
bad for them if they secure sex. It's a
well,
big
exactly.
difference.
It's
Yeah.
not for a man. It's validating to have sex. It's good. It's just it's a and in some, yes, if you have too much of it, there's issues of kind of like that we just talked about. But in general, I think sex for a man is net good, whereas sex for a woman with a man who doesn't like her and is using her for sex, that probably is bad for her. So
Now, I will say though that our good friend Radfem Austrian Painter had quite a spicy take today, where she said that the male orgasm is humiliating and leads to clarity and it's terrifying, whereas the female one is spiritual nicotine. She said it's energetic and calming and it's beautiful, whereas the male one is horrifying. But I don't know, it's sort of like the inverse though, I feel, of a lot of misogynist posting. I don't know. That's kind of like Khalifa Cove.
yeah.
I don't know. I feel like a lot of things that Radfem Austrian Painter says is probably the inverse of what these.
Yeah.
I feel like she does it on purpose. Like she obviously does it on purpose.
Great date, mate.
Except nicotine exists. Well, no, I mean the female, it exists. It's just that it's different than male. The male is obviously like It's like there's
Well,
it's like a rise and a run. There's
yeah.
falling action. It's like a Disney plot. You know what I mean? It's like got this triangle, but
Like
women,
crucially, like for men, you're horny and then you're not, and
yeah,
like for women, it's more like you're kind of like
they're in a
like
zone.
juicing up the machine, like
Yeah,
kind of like a lawnmower, and you're just like pulling that cord, and then it starts buzzing, and then like it's not it's just gonna keep going,
yeah,
and yeah, so like it's a very different type of situation for sure. And like as it is, as you say, like it's a very different type of situation for men and women sociologically in a hypergamous
exactly.
society. Men, I think probably have the worst lot because, many men are deprived of, sex and love. And women, frankly,
A lot
yes,
of them
they
are
are.
deprived of love as well.
It's
Yeah,
it's true, but I mean, like, how many of these women, if they just lowered their standards to something that's historically accurate, which is like
yeah,
women pair with the men at their level. That's historically what occurred because of monogamy, but because of hypergamy, it's just like, well, then none of them want to do that, and it's just like of their own accord, they're not going to do that.
yeah,
So it's like the type of thing like, you want to plan for your retirement, right? You want to put money away in 401k, you want to, but like realistically, not that many people do that because it's just not fun saving money. You want to do, people are going to do what's fun. And it might be a lot more prudent to, if you're a woman who's like 23, to look around and find like, oh, this is a guy who's like about at my level, according to like historical standards, and have a relationship with him. But when all their friends are like chasing after, Chads, well, they're going to feel pretty left out if that's what they do.
yeah.
So it's, but I mean, I'm speaking to the choir here, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly. It's just I don't know. I feel like a lot of these issues are probably more complicated than what's been like the way we talk about them. Like, I mean, obviously it's true that like love is kind of different for men and women, but then at the same time, I mean, there is commonalities. Like it's the same thing with like the orgasm thing. Like men have a very like dramatic entering and exiting of that erotic reality, right? Whereas
Yeah.
women, it's more complicated than that. There's like more of like a leveling up to it. There's more like I mean I can't describe it obviously, but I mean this is what
Yeah.
I've heard, of course. I don't know, but
I mean, well, crucially, like they do have like crescendos,
yeah,
but they can then just keep going.
yeah.
And
But a
like,
man does not have. A
yeah,
man has like a
I mean,
dramatic.
unless you're like a very special guy, and then you have probably a career in porn if you want. Yeah, you can't just keep going.
Do you know that's fake too? It's like selectively edited.
Yeah,
It's
I
like
figure. Like, I mean, I'm
yeah,
sure there's like one or
Horse
two like.
perspective, Superman angles and camera. Yeah, let's not kid ourselves.
they say it's actually pretty bad for being a dude in porn because like it's very
You don't make
physically
a lot of money
demanding.
unless you do gay show.
Yeah,
Oh
and it's
yeah.
also
I
physically
mean, like even the
demanding.
women don't make much money. Like the back
Most
in
of
the
them
day
don't.
they did, but like now, like if
Yeah,
they have only if they're like big OnlyFans stars or something.
yeah. Or if they have like a very particular niche
Yeah,
that again breeds a form of like parasociality.
Yeah, like the doxing Dom.
exactly.
Oh god.
Yeah, like I mean, Ayla wasn't exactly a model for that, but yeah, like I
Oh
mean,
god,
she
Ayla.
like
We love
is
our Reason magazine contributors, don't we, folks? We love our libertarians.
I had this take
she's a
that I didn't.
millionaire.
Yeah, I had this
Hey, there's
take.
some libertarianism right there.
No, but I had this take. I didn't feel like it's very original, but like that Ayla gives you the pretense of intellectualism. Ayla gives you the flavor of like I'm just asking open-ended questions, but she never sort of like what has she produced that is intellectual work besides her like
I'm just
guide
asking
on being a
open-ended questions like, killing babies and, doing dogs. Like, yeah, real intellectual. Put on those glasses, girl, I'm sorry. It's
Yeah.
very hard for me to respect rationalists.
No, but that's what I think a lot of rationalists have that. Whereas like it's a pretense to intellectualism, but when it comes to like actually producing content that is of like intellectual worth, like okay, I know that like a lot of people, and it's right because he's like a total like, well, I shouldn't say it, but like I mean he's not very like he's kind of like people that are too addicted to their own sense of self-worth. You know, like Yud, Big Yud, right? Like, I mean, he's been clowned on recently for his AI takes, but it's sort of like, okay, you could see, okay, maybe Big Yud has produced some things, you know, like he's not like the average rationalist, but like there's tons of these like rationalists that just like they'll make tweets or they'll like propose questions that seem like, you know, that are actually stupid in the face of it, but seem intellectual. And it's like, what do they do? Like, there's like, what is Ayala actually? It's sort of like Neil deGrasse Tyson. What actual theoretical physics papers has he produced? No, he's like, there's clearly we could tell what's going on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he's like the toe. Yeah, he's like,
it's obvious on the face of it.
Right. Like there is like there has been like, you know, black physicists and whatever that have done actual credible work, but of course they don't have the personality that science man has. So it's like they, and you know what's funny is I say that knowing that like I don't know, I personally find Neil deGrasse Tyson as exciting as like a wet paper bag. But it's like, I don't know, I guess he's got some air of being like arrogant or whatever.
I think the media rewards midwittery just
Yeah,
because you're
yeah.
accessible to a lower common denominator than someone highbrow or high niche. Although I feel bad because like Ross Scott of Accursed Farms on YouTube, who I'm sure is a smart data engineer IRL, but I only know him for like those Freeman's Mind Half-Life videos where you
Oh,
narrate
those
the
are
silent protagonist.
amazing.
I know, and he still
love
does
those.
them, and it's been like a decade, so I appreciate the effort. I'm always thankful for him.
Are there news Freeman's Mind?
Yeah, he's gone into Half-Life 2. He's at Ravenholm.
Oh
So
man, it's been such a long
but
time.
he
since I've seen
debated
it.
and he had a debate/discussion on Twitch with Yud, and it's
Whoa.
uploaded to YouTube. And Yud is in. Let me see if I can find the thumbnail, and we'll see if I can.
But why
find
are
it real
people
quick.
dunking on Yud lately?
Well, it does not help that Yud looks like a neckbeard atheist circa 2010.
No,
Like,
no, I
he
know.
literally has a fedora
yeah.
on right now.
But like, why is it? What's this AI takes that people are dunking on him for?
Because he thinks that we've built the basilisk already and that we must nuke it from orbit. We must destroy any collection of, GPUs and things that could keep it running, because he thinks what we've unleashed, and he's not the only one who thinks this, but he's like, we have to stop it before it's too late. He's kind of taken the Dromologue approach, where he's just like, we have definitely gone onto a new speed of technological acceleration, and I am deeply terrified that we may do something with this that could end the world. Ergo, we must kill it in its infancy. And so
I don't know.
people
That's not a bad take, though. I mean, that's a decent
well,
take.
in his letter, he sounds a little more unhinged than the position I'm taking it. So, and I think whether it's hyperbole or not, I haven't listened to the talk, and I'm actually going to listen to the discussion because it's like 2.5 hours. But Yud is very much gravely concerned that where we are going could lead to annihilation. And I mean, what I find interesting is that if you like listen to the scientist or / rationalist crowd, the guys that are really into, communicating with extraterrestrials or why are we alone in the universe, they will tell you one of the high leading theories is that because most civilizations that could achieve interstellar travel usually kill themselves before they can achieve it. And so I think Yud is also kind of taking on the Nick Bostrom vulnerable world hypothesis.
Oh god, that's so Reddit. So Reddit.
I mean, I've listened to the paper. Skeptical Waves has it on his YouTube channel if you want to listen to it. Like, I get where they're coming from, and I think that, and again, it goes back to technical expertise. I don't know enough about AI. I'm not a data scientist. I'm not a computer scientist. But like, if people are autistic enough, even if they are cringe, weird, Yud, Luddite type people, maybe there's some quality to their argumentation. Whereas others like Deeper Thrill and others will tell you that actually there isn't too much to worry about. But again, I don't know enough, and I would have to go back to school to read this shit. But I think the debate is certainly worth having because we're still only coming to the ramifications of this like Web 2.0 social media stuff. And it's been out since 2007. I would hate to imagine how quickly AI is going to reprogram people and totally change our basic assumption group format from, weird political fandoms to this disgusting Yuval Harari, let's create religion out of AI deal. But he's just disgusting transhumanist that needs to be wiped off the face of the earth.
Theoretically, in Minecraft.
Theoretically, of course. Through ChatGPT.
His works need to be burned, not...
Yes.
His works, not the man.
His works, right, absolutely.
Yeah. But, AI... Well, should we get on to the final topic, which is, I don't know if anyone has any... What hot takes, like, can we produce about the subway incident? I mean, Dan, you're in...
Quite a few. Like,
no, I know, it's a leftist dream. Like, it's perfect for them. It's got everything.
Yeah.
It's got bare life. It's got white supremacy. It's got, like, the black bodies will be condemned every single day by the evil light. It's like got the whole... But, I mean, Dan, you live in New York City, so...
So I was going back.
What part of New York do you live in? What's your social security number? What is your...
I do live in Brooklyn. I live in kind of gentrified Brooklyn. But I do ride the subway quite a bit. And
is Brooklyn better now?
Parts of it are very nice. Yeah, like for instance, so the deal in New York City right now is actually the dangerous neighborhoods like East New York and Brownsville and parts of Harlem, which are occupied by historically dangerous communities.
Mm-hmm.
They are, of course, still very dangerous. But a lot of these like crazed hobo attacks or whatever, they occur on like public transport in like Manhattan. In like this thing happened at the Broadway Lafayette stop. And so the Broadway Lafayette stop, that is like essentially Soho, I think. I should know this better. But yeah, that's like Soho. It's a very, very trendy, like touristy area. So the thing is, like Manhattan, unlike the boroughs, unlike where I live in Brooklyn, unlike where some people might live in Queens or whatever, which are neighborhoods, you don't have like you don't have foot traffic in my neighborhood too much from people who don't live there. And so as a result, you don't have too many homeless people or, freaks running around in my neighborhood. But in Manhattan, it's just kind of like, it's so kind of not just touristy, but open. Like, so many trains run in there, so many, subways, so much transportation is so concentrated that like essentially there's no neighborhood in Manhattan that's a neighborhood. Once you step out of the door, you're in the public forum. So there's going to be, crazy homeless people all around Manhattan, even in like the most Tony, the richest neighborhoods. And so that's kind of part of the dynamic. And so like it is true that in the 80s and in the 90s, there's a very high violent crime rate in New York, higher than it is now.
Oh, yeah. That
being said, I think Stephen Saylor suggested this as well, this is where I'm getting it from probably, that violent crime rate in the 80s and 90s was largely the result of gang members killing each other. Whereas the violent crime rate today is in no small part due to these like random, crazy, attacks on normal civilians. So like, I think it is probably for the average, civilian, citizen, whatever you want to call him or her, it's a more scary place to be. New York is probably like the scariest it's ever been to be like a normal person.
Since the 1980s.
Yeah, or even before. I mean, because like then, like I think it was, a lot of these deaths were just like gangs killing each other. And like now, like you didn't have, even in the 80s or, whatever, people
like random normal
subway
people getting clipped.
frequency that, they are today. Exactly. or like people being, stabbed up by crazy homeless. And so this has created a situation of like, great tension
Yeah.
in the subway in the city. And so my take on this is like, obviously, like people like AOC and the race hustlers are trying to like, turn this into a George Floyd event. And I actually went back and forth with someone we all might be familiar with in a friendly way, Inez Stepman, who writes for American Mind.
Yeah,
And
she had a more nuanced take on.
yeah. And so she thought that this was going to be, or thinks that this is going to be another Floyd moment, a Bernie Getz moment, and I can see that. I can see that
Bernard
percolating.
Getz, yeah.
I can see that like building, but I don't think that's going to happen for a few reasons. Number one, like this, Floyd Chauvin was a cop, and the whole like, yes, like indeed, like I think like, yes, he's a cop, so he should have greater leeway to, because he's doing his job. But that is, of course, not the way the public thinks nowadays.
Yeah.
So like the fact that this guy is not a cop and he's just a civilian, albeit a civilian of a disfavored demographic in society today, I think regardless, I think that will have
Well, this guy
certain.
being a yeah,
Being a Marine, that's true. That counts against him, sure. But
because like then it's like the whole like you're radicalized by the military culture, even though the military's gone like total like leftoid, but it's like still
it's
that
true.
perception, that the military is like this evil, problematic thing.
Yeah, no, 100%. That being a Marine doesn't help him, but I think the fact that he is a civilian and not a cop
you're right.
helps him. The fact that Floyd, that was an election year. And like we know what happened. We know they engineered these riots to, do what they did. And frankly, starting off a bunch of riots in 2023 isn't really going to help the Democrats very much, I don't think. So I don't think there'll be a ton of like you even saw Mayor Adams, who is by no means our guy. Let me tell you, he came out and like smacked down AOC and is like, we gotta wait for the facts. Don't call this guy a murderer.
Yeah, AOC wanted this guy's head on a platter, like literally.
Yeah. I mean, like, well, she's like, that's her. She's trying to push her.
Thing.
Yeah, she's trying to make hay out of it and get money, get donations and whatever. And so like, of course, she's gonna push that.
Yeah.
But I think the fact that this guy's not a cop. It's not an election year. And, it's just kind of like, it's not as crazy a time as it was during the Summer of Love, the Floyd riots.
Right.
Like that was like we were, everyone was locked in their homes for 3 or 4 months because of COVID. People were losing their minds, and then suddenly it was like
this orgiastic release of
exactly like society
political violence.
You can go crazy and do what you want,
but it's for a good cause, though. It's for a good cause.
Exactly.
Yeah, racism. Yeah. But by the way, I have to, we're going to do super chat soon, but I just wanted to do Petra Casey for a very generous $10. The reason I bring him up is because he has a stream talking about this right after our stream.
Oh, awesome.
So go to Restoring Order, or actually the stream is called Restoring Odor, the #1 perfume stream on the distant right. Patrick Casey's Restoring Odor.
He's the real perfume nationalist.
He's the real perfume nationalist. I wonder what Jack's take was. He probably was. I can only imagine. It's funny because like some post-left people, they either like went to like full-on dissident right, or other ones they sort of like they're like, oh, now I have to be a leftist again because you guys are actually serious about being right. So it's like, but anyways, Prude, what's your hot take?
Amy was on our side.
Yeah, Amy's like totally like I wouldn't even consider her a leftist right now.
Yeah.
Z-Man should be a good. Yeah, Z-Man is Patrick Casey's guest. But no, my take was that in some ways it could be more dangerous because it's a citizen, an average white guy. Then now they're going to like take. Not only is like the police system racist, but now like I mean, I shouldn't say that. They don't have any impetus. I mean, honestly, there really is no. You can't give them any more motivation to say that average white people are racist But now it's going to be this like perception that if you're a white man, then you're like they have to like engineer this perception that if you're a white man, then you're like inherently dangerous. You're just like hunting a BIPOC person. And it's like really, I don't know. Prudy, go ahead with your fire take before we get to super chats.
Well, I guess Paul Simon's going to have to update his song about the only living boy in New York, won't he?
Oh my God.
I don't really have a particularly nuanced opinion on this because I feel like what I've seen play out on Twitter has been very similar to what we've seen beforehand.
Yeah.
Is that someone
fucking empathy?
Yeah. Well, yeah, or do better type nonsense, and
yeah.
This happens every time there's something like this that happened, whether it was with George Floyd or another, the guy in Chicago, Wisconsin, right, that had a knife in the car and was. Every time that this happens, like conservatives or right-wing people, they'll like, see, this guy's got a history of mental illness, like the justice system is broken, like this guy's clearly insane. He's gone crazy before, and the left will play the empathy game where they'll take some like photo from 5 to 10 years ago, being like, look at this Michael Jackson impersonator. Look at Trayvon Martin's like space camp flight suit. He could have been an astronaut. So, we've got seasoning police, jogger, future astronaut.
But isn't that
Obama's
like a
son.
huge, like, isn't that a huge discourse?
I'm just
like
tired of it. I don't have anything else to add. Like, the problem hasn't been solved. No one's being thrown. The wrong people are being thrown in jail. We have totally socially engineered ourselves to think that psychiatric care and the idea of a sanatorium is meaning that I'm going to take an ice pick to your frontal lobe, when what it clearly means is that no, some people are really dangerous to society.
They
and they
think everyone is like Forest Haven. Yeah, they think
be on the subway.
No, exactly.
Simple. I'm sorry. Like it's frustrating because it's like we've had this discourse before. Every time that there is a racial connotation to any political violence or any sort of civil like disobedience or civil unrest, the same thing is played out for as long as I've been alive, and probably a lot older. If there's any indication from what the mainstream press talked about the civil rights movement in the 60s. So I don't have any nuanced take here. It's other than. Clearly, I think from what we've seen from people who live in New York, that crazy people are on the subway all the time. They try and avoid them. But, this is also someone that has been allegedly, gone crazy on people, has threatened to push people into, moving trains. I'm having a really hard time trying to find empathy in this situation or to care, because this is another example of a problem that has gone on for too long, and that another example of anarcho-tyranny, because I'm sure they're going to arrest that white guy and they're going to throw the fucking book at him and he's going to go to jail. And, if he's they'll retire his jersey like they did with Derek Chauvin's badge number. Like, it's exhausting. I think everyone knows what the problem is that we've got a crime problem, a justice problem, and a problem with a particular subset of individuals that have, low impulse control and high time preference that, clearly don't really cooperate with the rules of normal society that we have. It's almost as if we have an ordeal of civility.
No, but like my nuanced take is that I do empathize a lot with like homeless and mentally ill people. And I feel like the vast majority of them like don't harass people and just want to be left alone. And it's very tragic, a lot of their stories. I've talked to a lot of homeless people in my day, being part of Knights of Columbus and all that. But it's like, this guy was different. I mean, he was clearly harassing people. Apparently, there were like Reddit posts by women saying that he was like even harassing them of a sexual variety. So it's like this. I mean, you don't know the facts. I mean, I'm sure like there's probably camera footage of him like not just being verbally threatening, but him probably like you could tell when someone's going to do something. You know what I mean? Like all these like leftoids that have these takes like, you want to like be a man and like, yeah, go and get accosted by a schizophrenic drug addict, or like have like Mafugan empathy and like you're ghoul and you're not a human. And it's like this leftist tough guy act. It's literally just the Matt Kreisman clip of him crying his eyes out while he's drunk about, oh, just by virtue of my birth, that I'm privileged, and why don't you want to give everyone, everyone the same amount, blah blah blah. It's like listen, it's just a weaponization of morality, and I hate to say it. Like I said this in Telegram, I really hate to put it in these terms, but you really can't extend empathy to the entirety of humanity. It's impossible. It's not real. Those type of politics are literally just a fantasy world. And it's like some like New York City podcaster can assuage his guilt by saying, be a fucking human being and be a better person. It's like this whole like left ironist like tough guy act, but it's like tough guy act combined with this like mushy, soggy moralism. It's like, listen, I hate to say it, but if you're saying that because people halfway around the world live in a favela and live like in squalid conditions, that you actually deserve to live in those conditions, because in the society that your ancestors built deserve to be like destroyed and turned into like a one global longhouse favela. It's like, that's crazy. That's great. It's like, I understand helping people. I understand having empathy for people that are downtrodden. I understand the taking care of people in our countries who, who are on the streets. But it's like at a certain point, you have to realize that there's a difference between actually doing something to help them and saying that the solution to those problems are like tyrannical. And it's like, I'm sorry, but even the whole thing about like being a good person and having empathy, I'm sorry, but a lot of moral decision making, I feel, or rather I think, can only come about from a society that is proper and in its place in terms of stability. A lot of people, when they live in crazy times, will act crazy. Or you can't expect the average person who's like going over bum vomit and getting accosted in the subway and living like what New York City was like in the 70s in the subway. It's like, you can't expect the average person to be like, well, like the Steve Albini take. Did you see that, Dan?
Yeah. I
He's
actually,
like,
I made a tweet about it.
Yeah,
was like,
give him $100. Like,
yeah.
it's ridiculous. I'm sorry if
I
I
was
say
like,
any
I
more.
spent all my money on nut crankers. I can't give them $100.
It's like, first of all, if you give them $100, actually you're probably fueling the problem they already
Oh,
have.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah.
buy
Are they going to
drugs
buy
with it.
groceries with that, Dan, in the subway?
No, they are going to buy drugs.
Yeah. No.
and or booze or whatever. But
No, like I
yeah.
understand. Like here's the thing: the way you help them is if they are incentivized. Like a lot of people, a lot of homeless people, the reason they're on drugs and the reason they're homeless is because of mental illness, is because of the fact that they can't exist in normal society, and there
Yeah.
has to be institutions in place that can, as much as protect the public, also protect these people from the negative consequences. Like, you know what it's like being a drug addict, being an intravenous drug addict on the streets and sharing needles and all sorts of diseases and infections. And it's like, it's terrible, right? Like, but at the same time, like the whole like insight thing we have here in Canada, I think they have the New York. Don't they have the New York, Dan?
What's that?
The insight thing where they give them clean
Insight.
needles.
Probably, yeah. I mean, we have
Yeah,
all sorts
yeah.
of, stuff like that here. It,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think this just boils down to, the average libtard New Yorker who is just like,
Liz
this
Brunick tweet
man,
about
lost his life. He was just begging for food, and and that, obviously that's not what happened. But they value, even though they know that New York City is becoming unsafe. They know that, and it's there's some level of risk to your personal safety when you ride the subway. The level of risk is not so high that it overrides the utility that they receive from adhering to this ideology.
right, exactly. Yeah,
Whether the utility
100%.
is material or whether the utility is psychic, in terms of like, I keep my coherence of my worldview. I keep my friends, but indeed it can be material. Like if I were speaking as candidly here among, professional colleagues, I would be in some trouble probably. So there are real like material reasons why libtards are libtards. And I think that like crime would have to get to a level where it's just not like at this point, like riding the subway, there's a maybe 1 in 10,000 chance you're, murked. That's really low. Like most people, like they're just like, oh, whatever, that's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know, like if it became like kind of you know Battle of the Somme levels, I'm sure it would be a little different. People would start to feel a little differently.
If it looked like
But
a demilitarized zone walking down the street.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, like as a good example of this, like I do live in New York City, and so the other day, like actually Monday, the same day this happened, it couldn't have been the same person, but I was at a subway stop. I was coming back from Manhattan into the city Monday morning, actually no, Tuesday morning, and this guy's just walking around the platform going. Damn, I really would like to kill someone today.
Just like
And
randomly going around saying that?
well, he's like, he's of the demographic that you might imagine, and he's just like at the top of his lungs, like screaming about stuff. But among the stuff he was screaming about, he's like, damn, I want to kill someone. And so, it's that type of environment in the subway today. It's just like, well, he's probably,
That's nice.
full of, shit, but in the off chance he's not, someone's going to have a problem.
Yeah.
So
No,
that's
but that's
the
what I mean.
environment
It
out
is.
there.
Yeah, it is like, but it's funny though. They got rid of all the tunnel people in New York. They kicked them out, and I mean, there's like one guy left. I think he died actually a few years ago. They did that
Huh.
documentary on it. I remember watching this
I never
documentary
saw
on the
that
tunnel
one,
people.
but I've heard about it.
Yeah, there's this really great one that's this black and white documentary they did in the 80s on the tunnel people when it was like the height, when there was like thousands of people, homeless people living down there in those abandoned subway systems.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's really crazy. But over the process, the police would just keep raiding them, and they would just like slowly like disappear over time. And now, like I believe that, but then now in like the proper New York City subways, there's a huge problem with homelessness and
Oh yes.
panhandling and craziness. I mean, yeah, it's just, but he was a Michael Jackson impersonator, so automatically, I guess this veteran, he's got to go to life in prison now. I mean, he's got to be
Yeah.
Chauvin.
Well,
So
it places you in a kind of like impossible position
yeah,
where you have to either like um, defend yourself and face the possibility of prison because of political circumstances, or you have to like hope that
be a
someone
martyr
doesn't
for
attack you,
yeah,
or not respond to provocation, or like if you do, like hope that you respond in such a way that is like so causes such de minimis injury that there'd be no um recourse for
yeah,
anyone. So it really just places the average strap hanger, which is what we call a subway commuter in New York City, in an impossible position. And this is what Inez Stepman was writing about. And it's just like you gotta every time you get on the subway, you realize that you're in you're in occupied territory essentially.
but yeah, man, that's sad. That's what I mean. Like, I mean, do you remember like the woman that was being ratioed about? You're not entitled to live in safety. It's like, listen, yes, I am. Okay, like it's, what I mean. It's just so stupid. Like, I mean, I would say a bunch of things about that I probably shouldn't say, but the whole the whole notion that we need to live in 1 giga longhouse favela forever because it's fairness. It's just like, anyways, Prude. Final thoughts before I get to the super chats.
Bring on the super chats. If you live in a sane, rational society, I think you should be entitled to a degree of safety by the public. But I think,
but that's crazy. That's racist, Prude.
I know it's racist to imagine. Well, and I mean, isn't that the thing about progressives? Is that what is progressivism other than anti-civilization? So,
Yeah,
here we are. Here we are. So yeah,
it literally is just
bring on the super chats, because I don't think that we're going to convince the
destroying
left
the
to be pro-civilization anymore, because apparently pro-civilization is racist.
Yeah, exactly. So for $10, Brando Johnson, Mike of Paul sends his regards. Great stream. Thank you. I may have Mike of Paul. I know Oros posting. By the way, if Oros, if you're listening, please follow me back. I know we have this little game where you follow me, then unfollow me, then I follow you, and you don't follow back. But he recommended that I should bring on Mike of Paul on Content Minded, so maybe that'll happen one day pretty soon. I've been neglecting Content Minded. I will probably have a solo episode next week, but then the week after that, I wanted to release my Scott Mannion episode. I feel it's really great. So, by the way, so I'm scrolling through here. So, Prude, if you have anything to show, and Dan, if you have anything to show besides the short story, all your links are in the description. But are you going to come out with a newer story soon, or?
So yeah, on Baltic State, which is danbaltic.substack.com.
It's in the description.
Yep. Yeah, I am, it's still in its infancy. I'm writing an essay that's about the role of vice in society.
Oh,
and
nice.
Somewhat predictable for me, but I think I have some insights here. And so I had written a kind of semi-popular tweet, which was something to the effect of virtuous society with degenerate counterculture, based, cool, fun, degenerate society with trad counterculture.
Terrible.
Yeah. And so that's where we find ourselves. And so it's kind of like an essay examining that, and examining the kind of like peculiar circumstances that we find ourselves in with a degenerate culture, and how that by its very nature creates a sort of there's a very weird relationship with like sin and vice, when the very society itself is championing it. So that's what this essay will be about.
That's great, because like I feel like watching a show like I've been watching recently. I've been watching Kink, which was the show from Showcase here in Canada back in like the early 2000s. I feel like watching it really does give you a window into like what still like a somewhat decent society was like back in the early 2000s, but having like a growing degenerate subculture. But that there was always like, even in antiquity, there's always a space that allowed for transgression.
Yeah, and I think I believe BAP talks about it quite a bit.
Yeah,
and like there's like, I think
St. Augustine talks about it as well.
Needs this kind of like release valve, whether sanctioned or not. It's just going to exist, and like that, I think, is the classic pull of civilization, right? You have a kind of hopefully a virtuous civilization, and a kind of like breakaway element that like wants to push the limits of that. But like that, I think, is stable essentially if provided the right factors remain in place. But the inversion is just a nightmare. You have the degenerate culture, and like it's you don't want to be a trad counterculture. Like you want a trad culture, and you don't want to be like simultaneously like persecuted for being trad. That's just it's just really like if you're being persecuted for being degenerate, it's just kind of like, oh well, okay.
That's part of the whole.
Yeah, it's just like I was doing bad stuff. This is what I get. If you're like persecuted for like having like traditional families and doing the right stuff, it's just really messed up.
Yeah, it's also like it also smacks of the whole like conservatives, a new punk rock thing. It's like, ugh.
But they've been saying that for 50 years.
Prue, do you have anything to show?
Oh Lord, I've got quite a bit actually. So, the last 2 weeks I have been incredibly busy being on other people's shows. So,
I know
uh,
that feeling.
yeah, I think the last week I was on Oren McIntyre's show twice. I was on Academic Agent's show, Popular Opinion. So all that stuff is there. This earlier this morning, I recorded with CJ Engel for Chronicles Magazine. We got to talk about the late and great paleo conservative Joseph Sobran and his writers. I'm writing a piece on him actually. On his notes for the Reactionary of Tomorrow, which will be, I think, really well worth your time. I had the great opportunity of meeting our mutual friend in the group chat, Andrew Isker at Boniface Option, down in Dallas on Tuesday. Great guy, as based as he tweets. He and I recorded a little over an hour worth of discussion on his book, his views, and where he's coming from. So that should be out shortly. I will be streaming this Saturday, and then we'll have the Digital Archipelago on next week. But most of my attention is going to be on my writing projects. I have been neglecting
Same.
that with a bit of writer's block. But I was recently gifted by a friend of mine some paper money from the Confederacy. So I've been
Whoa.
inspired to write about that. So yeah, I have lovely bits from the state of Louisiana and the state of Alabama paid to the Treasury Department of the Confederate States of America. So I'm a little bit inspired to write. But yeah, I've got plenty of stuff going on, as y'all can tell. So
Nice. All the
stay
links
tuned for more.
below.
Oh, that, and I had Jeremy Carl on just yesterday to talk about where in God's name did all of the policy wonks go? Because in the midst of culture war, someone has to be writing laws. And
Did
Mr.
you
Carl
ask him
was
my
kind enough to-
question
Which question was that?
about like during the Obama years, like all these leftoids became policy wonks?
Yeah, I kind of referenced that when we talked about Pete Buttigieg sort of being like this Obama clone and how like this sexy policy wonk really was this like lefty thing. But it's even older than that though, Gio, because I mean like the sexy policy wonk thing I really think emerges from the depraved mind of Aaron Sorkin. And
West Wing, yeah.
You know, that's when it was sexy to be like a Democratic new left policy wonk out of the New Democrats. And nowadays, the only person who calls himself a sexy policy wonk, I think, is like a Son Piker.
Yeah, or like some kind of cat lady on, you know, on TikTok that's like pushing 40. Yeah, there you go. You'd have like a doxing dog. Yeah, some like millennial, like pushing 40, older millennial woman.
Exactly.
Yeah, that
like
there. That their biggest moment was when they were mentioned once on Democracy Now by Amy Goodwin.
By Jamie Peck.
Yeah, Jamie Peck. Subscribing to her OnlyFans so she could be a doxing dom. She probably have like a Groiper like edgelord tier where like you dox your kind of like doxing dom. She'd be like, she'll probably fulfill that niche of like she'll berate you and tell you how like much of a problematic dude bro piss baby you are.
No, I may have given her a business model. I mean,
how well do you know Jamie Lee Peck?
No, I don't know her very, very well. But I'm saying if she had read the
she read Nutcracker, then
yeah.
Exactly. And please go and buy Nutcracker. I myself am currently working on my book, so I'm probably gonna go unlock on Twitter soon again. But just for the sake of the stream, you know. Yeah. But anyways, $10 by Melisma. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Sneed. Thank you very much, my friend. Much appreciated. Yeah, Prude Chaney's avatar.
Oh, we're in the super chats now. This always comes on.
$5 by Bolero. 393, our good friend and patron. Alex forgot to use the Berkey filter and silver supplement that keeps the frogs from turning into 1920s happy before he hooked up with Blair White. Oh my God, Alex Joe. Well, do you guys think they smashed?
Activated charcoal, fellas. You know, I don't know, but it always seems I always get a weird vibe when I see pictures of Alex Jones, Michael Malice, and Blair White together.
Yeah.
It's like, let's just take the three most irregular, non-traditional people on the right, put them in a room. I just feel like someone's gonna just say, all right, let's get it over with and do it.
I wonder. That could
nightmare blunt rotation.
be nightmare. What can you imagine?
So
that
true.
Train? Can you imagine that train? AJ, Michael Malice, Blair White. Not saying it happened. We're not slandering anybody. Did you know what's crazy is that Michael Malice had the that comedian on. What's his name? Landau. And I feel like Conservative Inc. It was to specifically like burn Steven Crowder of how much of an asshole he is to work for. It's like I feel like Conservative Inc. like sent out a green light on Steven Crowder. So it's like,
Yeah.
Mr. Patchouli, my good friend, for $10. Gio more hype, table banging Alex Jones vibes before a hockey game. Oh, exactly. Apparently, well, Maple Leafs are up 1, so it's the intermission now. So for another $2 by Bolero, it was just a phase, guys. Changed my mind. Oh, everyone's dunking on Crowder. Like, listen, I don't like Steven Crowder. I think what he did was stupid. I think he probably mistreats his wife, but I mean, I feel like Steven Crowder. I mean, he's a coal merchant. What do you want? He's a coaler. What do you want? So dad for $4.99 by John Carter, dad, roommate, boss, Steven Crowder, Ben Shapiro, Owen Benjamin. That's a very tough one. That's like, because you're never gonna win there. You're never gonna win. Like, this is terrible. Do you guys want to go first?
I'll go. Let's see. I guess dad, I would do Ben Shapiro for the sole purpose of the fact that, like, he knows how to run a business. He's an asshole in the right way to probably raise a kid to like go into a good trade. I mean, you know, a Jewish dad, I might be a doctor instead. Who knows? Roommate. I mean, man, I probably would go with Owen Benjamin just because, like, avoid him. I can avoid him. He can have his own room and not deal with him as long as he pays his rent on time. Like, I don't mind the rest. Boss would probably be Steven Crowder because, you know, out of all three of these guys, I guess, you know, I'd rather work for that guy than the other two. But there's my pick.
but I watched a whole interview with Michael Malice where he's a terrible boss. So I don't know.
Well, you know, you know, work for the devil you know than the devil you don't. And I know Steven Crowder more than I know Owen Benjamin. So I'll take a catty bisexual over just a deranged Twitter poster that I don't really know or like.
Dan, what's yours?
You know, I would actually echo Prude here because, like, your dad ultimately is, you know, someone who is going to have the most influence on your life. There's not a great list of guys here, but I would prefer Ben Shapiro over the other two. For my boss, well, like, you know, whatever you want to say about Crowder, he did run a business and make money, so
true.
Okay, I'll work for him. I'm not, and like Benjamin, like he's, from what I understand, a bit of a schizo poster. Like he doesn't seem like he knows how to run a business. So yeah, so I guess he'd just be my roommate. And frankly, if you have like a conspiracy theorist roommate, that could be fun. You know,
yeah,
you could have he's kind of wacky. He's
he says some wild things about Christianity, but that's like par for the course. Yeah, I don't know what I would pick. I think Ben Shapiro I would switch around as my boss though, because he knows how to make money even more than Crowder. So
yeah, of course, yeah.
I think Owen Benjamin being a roommate, I mean, it would probably be bad to live with him. I figure if Owen Benjamin was your dad, you probably could avoid him as well.
Imagine the smell.
Yeah, true. Like, so Owen Benjamin would be my dad. He'd be like your crazy dad that you try to avoid at all costs, that ruined your life, but you try to avoid him. But then it's like when you die, you probably will go to his funeral. Steven Crowder would be my roommate because I probably would. I don't know. Never mind. I mean, Steven Crowder. I mean, would as a roommate though, I feel like he'd be pretty catty. But I feel like if you probably like, I mean, if you were to like big dog him, he probably would do what you asked of him.
It'd be doubly worse though if you're like a woman and he's your roommate. Like, where'd all my clothes go?
Yeah. So, if Showcase ever brought back kink, Steven Crowder would be like in it. So no, I'm kidding. There's this one guy they interviewed in Montreal who actually he's like a heterosexual guy, but he wears women's clothes. But he has a bunch of other like strange fetishes I can't say on YouTube. But I felt that was pretty. He was probably one of the more philosophic ones too. He was an older guy from Quebec. Quebecois, they have this thing where they have a very they do have more of a philosophic outlook on life, but a lot of them are crazy. So I don't know. For 49 again by John Carter, Mary, girl with a body. Oh, here we go. Mary, girl with body count of 100 or girl with a body count of 10. Michael Jackson impersonators. Oh, that's a tough one right there.
No, it's
I don't think it's tough at all. I mean, like, provided the 100 are not like Michael Jackson impersonator level. I mean, like a woman who's been with 10 of like those type of guys, that's, she has some really serious problems. So, I mean, like, like frankly, a lot of women, in like New York City who are like in their mid 30s, they probably do have 100 bodies, like 100. But I mean, you find a woman who's been with 10 homeless men. That's a really messed up woman.
I don't think John Carter meant homeless man. I think he meant the.
All right. Well, even so.
This is such an unoptical question.
Even so.
Who would you go with, bro?
I'm going to go Mr. Baltic's remarks here. If you go out of your way to bang the homeless or to bang a certain type of deranged character of a particular connotation, I'm going to assume that you have problems that I don't know if I could ever patch up or build up or want to ever be around. Whereas I could understand if I'm in my 30s and I need to casually settle down with somebody, then I would understand that. So this is pretty straightforward.
Which trad e-girl probably has 100 bodies?
All of them.
All of them.
All of them. If they're on the internet,
Mega, Holistic Honey. Holistic Honey you could imagine.
Outside of the ones that are married. That, are talking about like the best example of this is like Robin, right? Robin is married, writes about like childbirth, childcare, husband, kids. That's fine. I don't think she's got a body count of 100 because clearly she's made it. But if you're like,
if you're like
trad account number 50 about wheat fields and why meat is fake, and we can find your OnlyFans from like 1.5 years ago, get the fuck out of here.
No, that's like Ashton Birdie trying to be like a trad larper, but yet like now she's on.
It's like
TikTok.
the JPEG girl.
Yeah. It's like, but like Ashton Birdie, you hear about her new arc now. She's like on TikTok. She's like a lesbian, and she like talks like she's a leftoid, and she's like exposing conservative Inc. TM as like being fake or whatever. Like
Conservative Inc. is fake and gay. Say it ain't so.
No, but I always knew that was gonna happen because Ashton Birdie, like, apparently, I remember Baked trying to like allude to the fact that she had a certain medical procedure, if you know the one. So
is this the one who left Matt Walsh's bit or whatever?
No, Ashton Birdie dated Baked Alaska. She used to work for InfoWars. Or maybe she was to work with Matt Walsh. I think so.
I'm sorry, if you dated Baked Alaska and all this jazz, I'd imagine you've got a tell-all to write.
No, but like, I think she worked for InfoWars. She was the one that interviewed Dasha for InfoWars when Dasha was in the sailor uniform. But it's funny because Dasha is like more. Well, speaking of 100 bodies, it's trad girl. Listen, I want to insult Dasha, but people know, like, I'm an Anna man. Anna actually has a child. Okay,
aren't you mutuals with both these people?
I'm not mutual with Dasha. I'm only mutuals with Anna. I'm not. I don't know if Dasha knows about me.
This explains a lot.
Yeah, I mean, if Dasha wants to be mutuals, it's fine. But I'm just like, I don't know, Dasha. Like, I'm not a big fan. Like, it's not that anything wrong with her. Like, it's just, I mean, Dasha has some good takes once in a while. Just, I feel like, I don't know, like, I don't want to insult her again because it'd probably be very bad for my business relationships on Twitter. But I think Anna is like more cerebral. I know Dasha has a personality. Like, listen, why am I talking about the Red Scare Girls again? Why am I talking about the Red Scare Girls?
It's every episode.
But I know people clowned on Dasha for the body count tweet, and they massive parted her. But that was pretty funny. But she's back on Twitter now, Dasha Eats. Although her main account did not get clipped, but Dasha Eats got clipped, but it's back now. So Dasha, plus she called Elon fat. So I think Elon probably just wanted to punish her for a little bit. And they're like, okay, I'm gonna bring her back. So remember when Elon did that to Taylor Lorenz? Where he took her.
That was great.
It was good. And then she still came back to Twitter. Like come on, have some principle. But I mean, well, expecting a journalist nowadays to have principle, it's kind of not. Green glassful for $2. The 1965 Immigration Act was a huge mistake. There you go. That's the bottom text.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for $5, Owen Zaleski, hopefully with an update. Hello, all. Hope you're all doing well. Question for Dan. Any advice for newbie fiction writers on the right? God bless.
So it is a great time to be a newbie fiction writer on the right. All you need to do is write. And, frankly, like the people who will showcase your writing, be it like me and Matt on New Right, or, the guy, Bragg Nationalist at Man's World, or, the Passage guys, everyone who's affiliated with that. I mean, I think you will find as a newbie writer that there are a lot of people who are accessible and will kind of return your DMs and will, read your stuff at some point. And so as to compare to like the kind of traditional publishing industry, where if you don't have an agent, no one's going to read anything you write. Like, I'm just like some guy on the internet. If you DM me, I'm going to answer you. So it's a good time to be an indie fiction writer on the right, because you can, actually write your stuff and get it out there.
Oh yeah, that's good advice. I think it's just a matter of doing it, really. That's probably the best advice you could get.
Yeah, just get your stuff out there, listen to feedback, and continue your craft.
Yeah. $1.99 Prude for MG. Prudentialist cursed Halo game stream when? Yeah, Prude, how's your Halo?
Those are staying behind the paywall.
Yeah.
Not just for the sole purpose of not screwing up my algorithm. I should probably set up like a DLive account or something to do that on my off time. It was fun. I need to finish the campaign. I mean, it's a great little game. That's the state of my gaming life, is that I'm going to mod and play with games that are like 20 years old at this point, because I haven't touched a lot of new stuff. Although I did recently play through Black Mesa, the Crowbar Collective remake of Half-Life 1. And just like the original Half-Life, the Zen section really sucked at the end. So such is life. But, I don't know. If you ever want to do something like that, Gio, I would be down for a Digital Archipelago episode where we find a game to play.
Maybe. I haven't played a video game in like literally a decade or so. Mac is pure. Well, I don't know about Mac. She doesn't follow me, but apparently she is a mother and a wife, and she cosplays as Asuka. So, for $2, green glass full. Oh my God, what's up with Pariah the Dog? Sincerely, Peter. Oh, getting your jabs into other minor e-celebs on e-girls. Should I say e-girl? On Twitter. E-personality. But this has been a great stream. Thank you. As all our links are below, please go to New Right Podcast on their Patreon and give them money. Give Prude money on Subscribestar, and of course, give me money on Patreon. This week, I will release a exclusive Patreon content, maybe an article, but I am working on my book, so I probably won't be tweeting that much. Although today I just had to like get it out of my system. I had to coom tweets on the TLs. Thank you all. God bless. Good night.
Thank you for having me on, gents. Much appreciated.
Take care.
Had a lot of fun with you.
Go to Pat Casey's stream right after.
Pat Casey's stream, Restoring Order with Z-Man tonight.